Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. The granddaddy of them all, the high holy days of the wrestling calendar, the showcase of the immortals. Are they more than just catchphrases and marketing buzzwords, or would WWE deliver on their stadium-sized two-day double dip of professional wrestling, or would it fall flat? And how about that other news that snuck in over the weekend and upended the entire industry in one fell swoop? We get into it all in this episode 129, our Wrestlemania 39 review. So long, and thanks for all the fisherman suplexes. I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who single-handedly saved Wrestlemania 36 after they ran out of extension cords by holding two bare wires together for over 4 hours while the electricity flowed through his body. He has been my partner in idiocy for over 2 decades and can now charbroil a steak in his armpit. I give you the man they called him 1.21 gigawatts. Marty! Beat you to it on that one.
You did. Well done, sir. How are you?
Oh, well, it's been a mixed bag, sir. It's been a mixed bag, but we'll get into all of that. But you know what? I'm on the right side of the grass. Things are going all right.
That's a heck of a way of putting it.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta start with a baseline, and that's it. I'm not laying with my hands crossed across my chest with a big rock above me.
That's the line that Randy Savage should have uttered back in the day. You know, oh yeah, I'm on the right side of the grass, Mean Gene. Yeah.
Yep, and people would have been like, exactly what grass is he talking about? And it's like, well, it definitely isn't weed, because you see how intense that dude is? Either that or, my God, thank God he was on the weed, because otherwise he would have been totally unbearable.
Indeed.
But how are you doing, sir? How are things at your palatial estate in Chicagoland?
Very good, very good. You know, just dealing with all sorts of weather. We started out at 70 this morning. We're down to about 39 now. So we've had a 40-degree swing, I believe.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just lovely. Yeah, we're in that phase where we're gonna like warm up and then just stay warm. When the seasons change, this is not a gradual thing. It happens over a matter of a couple days, and once we get into a certain, 50s, low 50s, high 70s sort of thing, we're locked in and moving forward. I just want to get there because I am sick of being cold.
Yes, so. I'm not a fan of Splinter. I'm not a fan of this like in between season where in the past couple of days here have been kind of I'm realizing this time of year that I am very much solar powered, because I get to a point of if there's no sunshine, I am just miserable, because that means it's cold. If at least there's some sunshine, I can deal with it. But today was just rainy and drizzly and just and I just ain't having it. I ain't having it.
No,
which dovetails nicely into all of the stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Oh boy, we got a lot to get into, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's been a roller coaster. It has been a roller coaster of emotions these last few days as we've taken in WrestleMania 39, which is arguably one of probably the best WrestleManias.
Yes, it's very much a Dickensian. There was the best of times. It was the worst of times, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Stone Cold. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was one of the best.
Yeah, and there was definitely some stiff shots fired all across the weekend. My goodness,
or stiff hamstrings that snapped apparently when certain people did a leapfrog.
You know what? I have zero sympathy. We'll get to all that.
Oh my gosh.
However, first, usually what we do here is we have a little thing called the Week in Geek. However,
we're scrapping the structure of this entire show for one reason.
essentially, ladies and gentlemen, let's just get this right out in the open. This is our therapy session right now. Our binky is being taken away from us, and we're not happy. Not happy at all. Usually we have the Week in Geek. However, this is more like the Week in Misery. So instead of Wig, we have Whim. And well, as we know, there is one person who runs things via Whim, and his initials would happen to be VKM. Sir, would you tell us what news we'll be talking about before we get to our WrestleMania 39 review?
Yes, leapfrogging over the event, it was announced Monday morning that Endeavor, the parent company of UFC, is buying WWE, and they will merge the iconic brand with their mixed martial arts promotion to form a new publicly traded company, which apparently, according to this article, their stock ticker symbol is going to be TKO.
Which is the only thing about this entire scenario that at least got a vague smile from me.
Yes. So Endeavor will own 51% of this new corporation, with WWE shareholders owning the remainder. It's estimated the enterprise is valued at $21 billion, UFC making up roughly 12, and WWE 9. And so, it is official. Vince has sold WWE. It is no longer a family-owned business. It is now corporately owned. He is still in charge. He's going to serve as the company's executive chairman, and a new 11-person board will be formed, with Endeavor getting one more seat than WWE. So he is now back in charge corporately, and as we'll get into, the other C word, creatively. Which is kind of where the roller coaster goes flying off the tracks. We're just like, what in God's name is going on?
Yeah.
So that was the big news Monday morning, and sorry, not to cut you off, but just to jump into how that parlayed into Monday evening, which we will talk about toward the end of the episode. But it became very clear, even though during interviews Vince stated that he will be a part of creative at a very high level and not get into the weeds. Apparently Monday night's Raw broadcast had his fingerprints all over it. And,
yes it did.
And to the tune of, I watched a little bit of it, and I saw Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn come out, and not knowing anything about what was going on and realizing what was happening, they seemed a little deflated. And so I was kind of like, what's going on? They should be flying high. And I'm like, and then it just became clear why there might be some deflation. So anyways, your thoughts on this sale, sir, and how it is, causing you great pains of agony and torture.
So I just want to say right out front, ladies and gentlemen, that normally we are a very not very, but we're pseudo family friendly. We are a TV PG.
Oh God. Oh God.
I'm a try. I'm really gonna try here, folks.
Use the filter.
I don't know if that's going to be possible. So I will do my best in post-production to perhaps make sure I catch any naughty words that I throw out. However, I cannot make any promises that I'll catch them all. So that
Release
is your
the
warning. This is quite depressing for me because, as I think I'm well documented on this show, I was out of pro wrestling for quite a while. I just didn't watch it. I couldn't watch any more of it. We had talked about it, a couple of years ago, and then we really just kind of lost track of it because it got so ridiculous. I don't think either one of us really had much inkling to talk much about it.
Yeah.
And then when of course, all of the poop hit the fan with Vinnie Mac there 9-10 months ago, and he stepped down, and Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, took over creative completely. All of a sudden, things started getting better, or if not better, they at least made sense.
Yeah.
Which I'll take that, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least if it makes sense, then I can at least, you know, I can muddle my way through it. When things just don't make sense and they're not even entertaining, and you're like, oh, a third grader wrote this, but it wasn't a third grader. It was a third grader who somehow got a hold of his dad's meth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it makes it a little, what I'm saying is it hinders your enjoyment of said entertainment. So I was really enjoying the past few months. Like, I was actually watching when I could, the Monday and the Friday night shows, which I hadn't done in forever. And I was catching the pay-per-views or premium live events or whatever the crap they're calling them. And I was enjoying it. Like, I really felt like they were doing some really good work. It felt like
good storytelling.
It felt like there was some care taken with it. It felt like it felt like the wrestlers themselves were actually taking more pride in what they were doing. It seemed like they were more invested in what was going on.
Yeah.
So to now realize that everything is going to revert back to the way it was structure-wise, and that in fact it is going to get worse, because there's one thing that we know: no one else can have a good idea except for Vinny. And if it wasn't Vinny's idea and it succeeds, it must be hunted down, cornered, and killed, and then displayed for public viewing as an example to everyone else that no one else is allowed to have good ideas except for Mr. McMahon.
Well, and who's better connected to pop culture and you know the trends of the times than a late 70s-year-old man?
Yes, who has, you know, a late 70s-year-old man who is extraordinarily wealthy and who probably doesn't even wipe himself anymore. He probably has a designated wiper at this point. Both from a I can afford it and, well, I need it standpoint. Which is great. And the fact is, Vince has always had a very sophomoric sense of humor anyways. So it's not like, you know, that's anything new. It's only gotten worse and more out of touch. So it's very depressing to be like, oh, and here's a thing that I enjoyed. And now, just from the standpoint of quality, I'm not going to watch this anymore, because I know that it's going to go back to the way it was. And in fact, it's going to get worse, because he is going to bury everybody that Triple H was kind of pushing and bringing along. Any ideas that were his are going to be just completely torn down and thrown out, because that's what he did with NXT. As soon as Triple H had his heart thing, oh, let's change everything. Because he's out of the way, and this was really good and people were liking it, and it can't be good if it didn't come from my brain, so let's change it all.
After Triple H had led that company, NXT, for several years, and it was producing probably some of the most, you know, compelling storylines, to the tune of I'm not going to get my years right, either 2016 or 2017, somewhere in that range. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano splitting up as a tag team in one of the most vicious ways possible. And Ciampa comes out to basically the blow off match with no theme music at all. It is completely silent, and all you can hear are the chorus of boos from the crowd, because they hate him so much for what he did to his partner. Like, that is telling emotional stories and getting people invested. Like, when you can get an entire stadium of people to make you forget the fact that this guy's walking out to no music at all.
Yes.
is just creativity at its finest. And we were seeing, you know, I mean, case in point is Sami Zayn. You know, the Sami Zayn bloodline story that started last year and ran its course all the way through WrestleMania was just masterful storytelling. And it was just, it's all going away, folks. It's all going away.
And so there's that part, you know, that's the entertainment part. In a larger sense, though, what sticks in my craw, you might say, is that essentially this scumbag, this human being who was paid millions of dollars for people to go away, essentially, because he either I believe at least one of these relationships was consensual, but it doesn't sound like a whole lot of the others were or wanted, and that there's actually a lot of other accusations that have been swirling around for many years. And for those of you who are like, well, you know, you never got it. Yeah, because you pay millions of dollars to make something go away when you're innocent. Okay, yeah, you believe that one. I've got a bridge from our last episode over in Newington that I'd like to sell you. So
there's an intercontinental belt in the river.
Yeah, if you can go find it, go right ahead. It's yours. But the fact that this chucklehead is coming out of this as a winner, I can't even express to you how disgusted I am. The fact that, one, in the first article I read about this, it might be the one that you were talking about. I can't remember because I've read and watched a couple videos on this, so it's all kind of melding together. I don't have my sources straight. But for one of the articles to have actually referred to it as a comeback story.
Oh, I know.
For Vince.
Yeah.
Made me actually ill. Like I felt sick in my stomach. And I got nothing to do with it. Like, I don't know any of these people involved. I'm not close. I'm not in the business or anything like that. But it made me sick to my stomach because I'm like, here's another person who, just by virtue of the fact that they're rich, they're going to escape accountability, as you so well put it in our chat stream, because I was definitely not as coherent or articulate as you were. But yet another chucklehead who just happens to be rich is escaping accountability. Infuriates me. And the fact that not only does he walk away with his money, and he's got more money than he ever knows what to do with for the rest of his miserable, stinking bastard life that he's gonna live. And we all know, again, that he'll live for friggin' ever, because I've said it before and I did it as a joke, and now it's not even a joke, it's a friggin' prediction, because we just know that this jackhole is going to be wandering the earth as a head in a friggin' jar past the apocalypse. Even the zombies will have died out, and he'll be rolling around, hey pal, talking to cockroaches, trying to get them into matches so that he can screw them over too, and probably try and grab a female cockroach's ass.
He is looking more like Walt Disney these days, and it's probably angling for that deep freeze.
Don't even get me started on that. So that mustache, don't even bring Walt into this. He's like a discount meth version of Howard Hughes. And but the fact that this guy, not only is he walking away with his money, his position is even more entrenched than it ever was.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm heading into this, like, this is what Lewis Black feels like all the time, I guess. Like I'm so full of outrage, and yet just I feel like I might have a stroke at any moment. Is that normal? Is that, I mean, can someone get Lewis Black? Can we
possibly
Patrick, can you get Lewis Black on the phone for me? L-E. You know what? Never mind. I can't. Are you cooking fish again?
Oh boy.
You're cooking hamburger?
It is Wednesday. Fish night.
Smells like fish. How old is that hamburger? You know what? Never mind. Just open a window, would you?
Well, and you also have to feel for. Oh, sorry, you're going to.
No. Please take it away.
I was just going to jump in with something. As you're talking about the shifting creative. One of the constant kind of themes over the last couple of days that I've been just reading from sites that I frequent that report on the business is just how low morale was at Raw, because of the fact that there was a level of trust with Triple H, that there was, real progress that had been made. There was talent that was brought back that we're not valued when Vince McMahon was in charge. And now they have to go through all that emotional, I'm trying to think of the talent themselves who, yes, they're stars, and yes, they get paid, great money to be those stars. But my God, like, they may be out of work in a couple months if this chucklehead just, oh, hey, buddy, those boots are made for walking. I mean, that.
Well, and also
keep
in mind,
like,
thing,
because he has no imagination with some of these people. He has no idea how to use them. Like Bronson Reed, for example, big man, was let go because Vince had nothing to do with him. He didn't know what to do with the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably going to be on the chopping block again if Vince is really in charge, as are several others. And, not to mention some of them, it sounds like some of them just have a moral issue with him too, which, as you just eloquently covered, is a problem, because this isn't a comeback story. Like, he came back from an illness or something like that. He came back from some really bad choices he made, and they impacted, people, and those people will forever be impacted. So anyway, I just think
that's just the ones we know about.
Yeah, right.
That's the ones we know about.
Right.
That's the ones that we have receipts for the fact that he paid them.
So yeah, and you could see some fingerprints in Wrestlemania as well. Like it's been coming out now. Like one personality I was looking forward to seeing, because he'd been talking about having an LA moment, was LA Knight, who is a great talker. He's one of those wrestlers who's kind of in the latter end of his career, but he's just had a tremendous surge in popularity and just has taken everything that the company's given him and turned it into gold. And apparently they were going to do a Bobby Lashley thing with him, and all of a sudden they decided not to. And Vince was not a fan of LA Knights. So it was just like, here we go. Once again, we're going to take really talented people who, if you could just give them a freaking opportunity, would do some great things. And here we go. So
yeah. And this, the thing is, like, all you need to know, actually the most puzzling thing that I can't believe is the fact that Shane was on WrestleMania.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Because Shane I think he's like the Billy Martin of WWE. Like, he's been fired and kicked to the curb more times than anyone else.
Analogy.
And yet he keeps coming back. They keep bringing him back, and he keeps doing this, and then he's gone again. It's like,
oh, Billy.
At least friggin' Steph had was like, she quit, and then Vince quit, and she came back.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he came back, she was like, and I am out.
Yep.
The thing is, like, what is just in some ways is unfathomable, and what kind of starts revealing like exactly who Vince is the fact that it doesn't seem like his children want too much to do with him.
Well,
his wife, ex-wife, whatever, sure as hell doesn't want anything to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is such a control freak and such a narcissist that, like, he's never handing this thing over. That was never in the cards, and I'm sure he's like, well, they didn't want it. So, well, probably because you've kind of shat on them for the past 20 years. Like, they probably didn't want anything to do with it, because also they probably knew that you would still be there yapping in their ear.
Yeah,
so it's like the whole head in the jar thing. Like, I sincerely believe if there was technology that this guy could do, he would.
I think it's like cryogenics.
Oh my gosh!
He can refrigerate himself.
It's just
boots are made for walking. Now draw me money.
A despicable human being.
I mean, even LA Knight coming out with The Miz, like, that would have been something entertaining to watch, because they're both really good on the microphone. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong. The backup of Snoop was actually quite good. You know what I mean? Like Snoop Dogg can't run the ropes to save him, to save a damn. But my God, when he went, that man just, he reached heights I didn't think he could reach when he dropped that elbow.
Well, I mean, he probably doesn't remember he did it, but sure, it was great.
Oh, I'd love to understand though if Miz called that or like, because I did read some stuff that, like, that was really off the cuff. Like, I can't tell if Miz called something or if Snoop just, kind of like just said, hey, like, let's just do this or whatever. And just in real time. It was a hell
of an improv if it was.
He and the Miz, I mean, Miz did a great job of just going with it. And then, when he went to run the ropes, that was really funny. It was just like,
oh my gosh,
the daintiest sort of rope running I've ever seen someone do.
Well, I mean, Lita was a close second. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But
anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to distract, but yeah, it's unfortunate. And Yeah, I mean, I've gotten away from AEW, myself, just just schedule and time and everything. I just haven't really been able to watch it. I kind of fell out of it a little bit with all the CM Punk drama that happened because he was a big reason I was watching that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting the next couple of weeks to see how things go. Oh, the other thing I was going to say too is it's going to be interesting if some of the columnists I read start commenting on I'm using the word comment a lot on the commentators, because that was, as you mentioned, Vince was a control freak. Mm-hmm. Vince was like, people don't realize this. He's on the gorilla position headphones, I think, barking instructions to the announcers as they're trying to announce. So imagine trying to call a show while you have that guy in your ear throughout the entire thing telling you what to say. I would lose my mind, personally, but that's another facet of it. And I'm curious to see, we're starting to notice the commentaries shifting back to what it once was, which was just Vince telling them what to say. Because Cole, Corey Graves and Michael Cole were getting a lot of praise from fans as they were able to finally start, improvising and kind of bringing their own personality into commentating. Which, Cole for years has bored me to tears, but he was making some great calls during some of the Gunther matches last year when he first won the title, and they were kind of setting up that story of this being, reminding the fan base of how that belt was the worker's belt, and how he was, he and Sheamus and some of the other opponents he had, just the history behind it and the significance of it, and Cole actually did a really good job of bringing that out, because he had the freedom to finally talk and be himself, and now we're going to go back to, draw me money, that
the thing is, and here's what's really, I caught myself there. Here's what's infuriating. It's one thing if you're a complete jackhole, but at least you're good at it. You're good at your job. It's like Jackie Mason used to say. He's like, I always like Nixon because I appreciate a good crook who knows his business. At least it doesn't make you any better. It doesn't make the situation any better, but at least you could understand it, because it's like, okay, you're getting results, so therefore you think being a jackhole is the reason you get the results, so therefore, at least in your mind, you're justified. Like, there's some sort of logic there. But as we know, with Vince, nothing has to make sense because money. And so the stuff he's doing isn't really drawing money.
Right.
It's not like it's setting the ratings on fire. It's not like it's like their house shows were not doing that well. Their ratings weren't. I mean, it was not drawing money.
No. And here's what's going to be telling is next week when Raw airs and they look at the ratings on Tuesday morning. Of course, Raw's ratings from this week were extraordinarily high because they were coming off of a really great show. Mm-hmm. They were coming off of a controversial ending to the main event, which, I'm sure people were curious about, disheartened, but probably curious. And so it just had all the markers of, and traditionally the Raw after WrestleMania, you have some NXT call-ups, you might have a debut of maybe someone from AEW or some well-known kind of on the independents kind of wrestler shows up. None of that. It has been universally across all the different wrestling sources I typically will read, universally panned and called one of the worst Raws after WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. And so even though it did Boku ratings this week, I'm wondering if they're going to crater big time next week, because there's probably going to be a segment of the fan base that's like, forget, like us. There's going to be like, forget this. Like all the things that were like everything you've been saying, everything we've been talking about, all the good things, all the positives that have been happening since the fall when he was unceremoniously, shipped out the door, are probably going to start getting undone. And it's going to be unfortunate, because there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of promise there, and some great stories being told. And Vince is on the record. I shouldn't say on the record, but through back channels and some of these columnists that I read have connections into the locker rooms and stuff like that. Vince has made decisions purposely to just mess with the fans. Like that is his thinking. Like he doesn't care if he makes a choice that is the antithesis of what they want. He'll do it because he just wants to spite. He will and again, we'll see what happens with Cody Rhodes, but he will make sure that the Rhodes name probably never wears the WWE Championship because he just wants to stick it to the Rhodes because he didn't create Dusty, and Dusty, did his own thing in a different promotion and wasn't loyal to him. And it's stupid, it's petty, and it's childish, but that's how he operates, unfortunately. So unfortunately, this is the direction we're going in, it seems like.
Yep. So,
and I agree. Just what you were saying, I agree that it's probably, I'm probably going to start going back to just reading about it online here. If storylines, if by some crazy thing it isn't a total shift in the direction we think, I might, peek into it. But honestly, I don't know. I'm just kind of watching it from afar at this point.
Yep. So to sum up, Vince is back. WWE is sold.
His mustache is creepy.
Fuck that guy. Fuck his mustache. Fuck everything about him, and then fuck him again for good measure.
And I was about to compliment you on the filter, and then it all went to hell.
I feel so much better, though. I mean, not really, but it does. For a moment, it felt good.
Well,
all right. So
shall we talk about at least the last gleam of hope before the
back
the
before we knew that everything was going to hell in a handbasket, when we were still optimistic and dewy-eyed about this whole thing. Let's try and shift back into that mentality. So
indeed.
Enough about that. Let's at least talk about what was overall a very good, not very good, a really good WrestleMania.
Top notch.
And it's really difficult because it's, 8 hours. Yeah. Well, not 8 hours, but I mean, that's including like the presser at the end and all that stuff. But I mean, you got like what? At least 7.
Yeah.
7 hours worth of wrestling back to back.
It flew. Like, I watched it live Saturday night and Sunday night. And honestly, when it came time for the main event, I'm like, holy moly, it is already time for the main event. It's like, I mean, everything was just hitting on all cylinders, and the talent was just doing incredible. It was just really, really incredible.
Yeah, and I should probably point this out. So I didn't watch Saturday Night Live because, well, not Saturday Night Live because I don't watch Saturday Night Live.
Well, you were live Saturday night, just not in the way that Saturday Night Live sounds.
All the way live, baby. It's all the way live. It was a good thing. It was great. But so I didn't watch the Saturday night WrestleMania as it was happening because I had a gig with my band. So I got done with my gig at about midnight. Luckily, it was basically a home game. It was like 10 minutes from my house, so I was home by 12:30. Got a shower, and I was like, I'm not really tired. I'll watch a little bit of Mania, just catch up. Before I knew it, I had watched like an hour and a half, and it's like it's creeping up on 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, I gotta go to bed, but it just flew by. I wanted to keep watching because it really held my interest. I mean, that's saying something when I'm watching that at like 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I watched Sunday all the way live. So that was good. And the same sort of thing. Like it really did. They kept it moving. And even there was definitely there were some parts where I was like, yeah, we really did not need that segment, but okay, whatever. The quality of the matches seemed to balance it out enough that I didn't really care about that much. I kind of forgot about it. So yeah, it was a really good show. I mean, for that much programming to put together, they did a really good job.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
So how do you want to run through this? Why don't you call us through this with these segments, sir?
All right, I will do so. So WrestleMania 39 Night 1 emanating from SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. First segment, and I call it segment because it was not a match, was Miz and Snoop Dogg were kind of like the hosts, I guess, who popped in from time to time. Yeah. And they were actually pretty good. I actually liked it. I thought Snoop brought a little more emotion than Snoop normally does, just because he's usually in that Snoop state that he's in. So
he's usually medicated.
But no, he just exuding the coolness. It was very nice. It was. Oh, and Kevin Hart, can't forget Kevin Hart doing the cold open. Just doing a phenomenal job. So just a great way to get the crowd amped up. And one thing I really like. So I'm going to transition into the opening match.
I want to get your opinion on something first, because I was blown away.
Yes.
I was absolutely blown away by the stage and the set. Freaking gigantic.
Yes.
Holy crap. And I love I thought it was one of the best sets I've ever seen at a pay-per-view. Like they spent a couple bucks on that. And then I'm also looking at them like, that's a long ass walk to the ring. That's a long way.
Oh,
like
yeah.
They need to bring back the little ring carts like they had for WrestleMania 3. It's like, oh my good God, that's a long way. Like I love how when they did the multi-tag team matches, like they would get halfway down the ramp and then it's like, all right, and your music is done. Next.
Yes,
like we gotta move this thing along.
Keep it going.
I picture like someone at Gorilla, like when they're doing when the bridesmaids are coming out at a wedding, they're like, all right, go and go and go. Left foot first. You know, it's like, oh, it was great. But what'd you think? Were you equally impressed, or are you so much a veteran that you're just like,
no, I was impressed. I mean, it was very awing at first to see, and same thing. You know, I had the same thought. I'm like, that ramp is super long, so
and pretty steep angle too. Like that was that is not wheelchair compliant.
The engineer in me was looking at that, saying, I really hope they timed out how long it takes everyone to walk out to the ring, because you could run out of time because of all the entrances. But no, it was super impressive. Really cool. So just getting into the opening match, like one thing I really liked was as they transitioned from, Snoop and Miz kind of kicking things off, Austin Theory's music kicks in, and you kind of see this it wasn't a curtain, but some kind of panel start to rise, and you see he's standing behind it with his back to the crowd. And then they flip around to a camera shot of him just kind of like standing there, just talking a bunch of smack or just maybe pumping himself up. But what an amazing visual as that panel is coming up and you see the humanity behind him. It was just it just set a very cool tone for me.
And like the modern NFL stadiums are so friggin' steep. Like the seating, it feels like it's actually I know this is not the case, but it feels like it's bending over the field. Like it feels like everything is leaning forward. I'm like, it sweaty palms just thinking about being in that upper deck. No, thank you. I gotta pay for the good seats, or I'm just gonna pee myself the entire 4 hours.
So that was really impressive. But I thought it was a nice, they didn't do that with anyone else, obviously, because it was probably just a unique shot. But it really, again, these are the little things that I think set the tone for the talent that are about to be showcased. And so you just got this, for me, I'm thinking in my head, cool shot, but with it being Theory, I'm just like, okay, this is kind of a cool way to bring him in. They're treating him like a big time star, not some, guy who's holding the belt that Cena is going to smack around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just gave it a good feel to the match. It didn't treat him like some lesser talent. He really came out looking like a big deal, looking like that young guy who's, trying to, prove a point. And so it was excellent. During that time, Corey Graves pointed out, Michael Cole, 22nd WrestleMania for him. 22nd. I'm like, dang, Cole's been around for a long time.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
I didn't realize that. So
what I thought was good about the intro, going off of what you're saying, is by putting Theory first and giving him that special angle and kind of really going for it there, it really did put him on it made him feel equal to Cena, because if he comes out after Cena, it doesn't feel as, because that Cena's going to get the gigantic pop. So they kind of acknowledge that, but they gave Austin Theory kind of this moment that was his to kind of make it feel more equal. It wasn't like, we got to have a first match, so here's the curtain jerker match. It came out and it's like, this is kind of special. Yeah. And it's that little attention to detail that I thought was really cool with that. I agree.
Absolutely. Really enjoyed the stuff they did with the Make-A-Wish kids and Cena coming out. And
I didn't know I was going to cry at 1 a.m. when I started watching this. I was like, come on.
Yeah, no, it was very cool. And just, a great showcase of the work he's done, with that organization. I do believe he is the standalone celebrity who has granted the most wishes.
Yeah, something like 600 or something.
Yeah, during his
it?
heyday, he was doing it all with that organization, and so just a lot of great work. Impressive intro, by the way, for Cena down the ramp. He ran the ramp.
Oh, and the G.I. Joe graphics.
Yes,
love that. As a kid who grew up in the 80s, I saw that. I'm like, no way! I want that T-shirt. Like, I don't even like John Cena. I could care less about him, but I'm like, I want that. I want like all this stuff.
That was that was fantastic. That was fantastic.
Oh yeah, and the cardio too of like him sprinting down. I was like, dang.
Yeah,
you have me do that, and I would have pulled a Shane halfway down the ramp. That would have been me.
Uncle Todd would have ran halfway down and then rolled the rest.
Well, it would have been one of those two. I'd torn a quad, or I would have like and here comes the challenger ass over tea kettle, and he hit the ring post. All right, we're gonna need medical attention out here.
Oh, that's good.
One of the first notes I have there is I still can't get over it, and I've probably said it a bunch of times. What a gorgeous championship belt.
Oh yeah,
is the United States Championship.
100%.
Gorgeous.
100%.
It is I dare say it is near perfection in terms of a championship belt. I would have to sit there with a magnifying glass and at least 4 hours to examine it fully to probably find a fault. I can't. It looks better than either of the championship belts, far better than the tag belts. Only belt that can probably come close is the Intercontinental, just for the fact of its simplicity.
Yeah.
But yeah, U.S. title is, I think, right now is the Cadillac of championship belts.
I would agree. What I thought you were going to say, because this takes some getting used to for me, is John Cena with hair grown out. Just takes some getting used to.
And then the bald spot in the back too. It's like, dude,
when he had the chin lock on and his head's down, I'm like, John, welcome to the world we all live in.
Yeah, and I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we're not trying to really throw a lot of shade at John, because I mean, I think it's well established.
Exactly. I am bald, so I am 100% in that group.
I've got the receding hairline that every time I go to the barber, I'm like, why are you trimming the front? It's already trimming itself. I'm probably a year or two away from just going, okay, and now it's time to just buzz all of this back.
Yeah.
But it is weird. Like, it's just seeing Cena now is a little bit weird, because obviously he's not as jacked as he used to be either.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, he's also like 45, 46 at this point. He's like,
yep.
He's approaching my age. It's like, dang.
Just
to be able to but the fact is, like, man, he actually looked really good.
Oh yeah. He didn't look like he missed a beat at all.
No, I mean, well, he looks a step slower, of course, because he's freaking old now by athletic standards. But I mean, but taking that into account, he looked really good, and I really liked how, man, they made Theory look strong in this match.
Well, that was the note I was going to talk about. Like, he controls most of this match. When Cena starts to rally, he then pulls out some dirty tactics. Like, I do have a comment here. Theory going to the Mike Tyson school of ear chomping, apparently.
Yes, he went for the Tyson heat.
Yes, working the Tyson heat. But yeah, I thought it was a great touch, with him controlling the match, frustrating Cena whenever he would try to make a comeback. Loved how he was just showboating, throughout the match, and as he had that control, and then it was kind of setting up a sequence where it looked like there might be a surprise Cena win. I will say they mic'd the ring really well, because during one point, I don't know if you picked up on this, Cena calls out Sleeper.
Yes, I had that down as a note. Audible call for Sleeper. I'm like, okay, we can turn some of those mics down now. And the fact is, it continued through the rest of the show, because there was a couple other times that specifically in the main event for night one.
Yes.
Towards the end, I heard Kevin Owens call for the super kick when he was in the corner. I'm like, come on, guys. Let's bring the fader down. Bring the fader down a little. But yeah, they did a good job of, even though, I mean, I kind of knew, I'm like, there's no way Cena is winning the belt.
Yeah.
But they did a fair job of kind of pulling you in enough to make you go, well, maybe. I mean,
And
what would that look like?
Yeah, and they gave Cena the moment where he did have the submission and Theory was tapping, but the ref was out, and then they gave Theory the victory, and really was a great example of how you pass the torch. I mean, it was an opening match, but it made Theory, Austin Theory look strong as a champion, and it was John Cena who, at this stage, he's not going to be wrestling a whole lot more. And so this was a good showcase of him. It was nice nostalgia bringing him back, and it was good for him to, put over a younger, a lot of people comparing Austin Theory to him. I mean, he has the build. He's developing the personality now, and he's getting more of a, not seeming so, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not fragile on the mic, but just there's certain talent when they first come in that just they seem really either nervous or stiff. Tentative, yeah. And Austin Theory has grown a lot over the last year and is really kind of finding his voice. And so I thought it was a great opening match. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Felt it was definitely above average, but it wasn't, it didn't blow me away, knock my socks off kind of thing. But it was a really, for an opening match, it was strong, and I thought it served its purpose well.
I was blown away by it for an opening match featuring a dude who is in his mid-40s who don't wrestle no more. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed. I gave it 4 stars.
Oh,
I think it was for a match that I really didn't have high expectations for, and is the opening match, and that felt like the conclusion was already known. Like, again, if Cena wins the belt, he's losing it the next night on Raw because Cena's not coming back full time.
Right.
I thought they did a fantastic job telling the story and actually for a couple moments making you scratch your head and go, okay, well, how does this work if they have Cena win? Like, I think they did a good job with that. And I had I thought it was a fun match, and it was very well done. So yeah, 4 stars, solid for me.
All right, I'm entering it into the outline here because I want to compare our ratings later on.
Excellent.
All right. Oops. Hold on a second.
What are you oopsing?
No, I put 4 stars in the Miz and Snoop Dogg intro segment box.
Yes. I would give that 2 stars. I was not as impressed. Give it 2.5. Give it 2.5.
I gave it 3.
It's down the middle. It's neither here nor there. I didn't need it. The national anthem I thought was. Not national anthem. God Bless America.
Yeah.
Or no, was it? No, was it God? No, it's America the Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it was America the Beautiful. Yeah.
I'm not impressed by night 1. I thought night 2, the female singer, was that for night 1? Whoever it was,
the female singer was night 1.
Okay, I thought she was good. Night 2, I was not impressed by the dude.
Okay.
Just in case anyone's wondering.
All right. Next match, Fatal 4-Way Men's Tag, Strowman and Braun Strowman Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders, Ivar and Eric with Valhalla versus Alpha Academy, Otis and Gable.
Otis, you mean?
Otis, yes. Otis and Gable, and then Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Really should have been rebranded as the train wreck high spot Orama that it was.
I like this match. I
don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it in a good. I mean, it was very high spot heavy, but it was super entertaining as a match.
Oh yeah. Which I thought it was interesting that I didn't remember it being announced as a no DQ, but they made sure they mentioned that because there was so much happening, and I kind of put that in the margin. But it was you're definitely right. It was spot heavy, but I thought they did a good job of again making that all kind of fit into somewhat of a story.
Yeah.
But right off the bat, the first note that I had was Chad Gable's roll through German suplex on Strowman.
Yes.
I was like, okay, well, we have a new, like, functionally strongest dude on the roster.
Yeah. Yep. That was impressive. Impressive.
Yeah, that was good. And I mean, I feel like, again, like, not to go back to things that are going to happen, but like Strowman Ricochet feels like something that would not have happened.
Yeah,
a long time ago, but it works. Like, those two actually are a really fun team to watch. You know,
And you know, they put the spotlight on each team at a different point, and certain individual, you know, like Ricochet, I thought had a great showing, because Ricochet is that entertaining guy who just does amazing things with his body. I mean, he just flies through the air in ways that, you know, you just don't normally see other wrestlers do. And so it was just,
he makes
really,
you question whether they're using real-time CGI.
Yeah. Like, I thought he and Gable had a great start, good back and forth there. Otis bulldozing Ricochet. I mean, Ricochet sells so well. It is just, he looks like he's getting like shot 3/4 of the time. I mean, it's just like the way.
Well, how much
just
you have to
bounces.
sell when Otis hits you? You know,
I'm getting a little concerned about Otis, though. I mean, he's starting to show a little like Yokozuna, you know, kind of growing in size gradually here. It's like, dude, come on, you know, like, let's watch the diet. Let's not have you do some, you know, some bad things to yourself here, because
he is literally round at this point, like very pumpkin-like. It's not good.
No, but I mean, such an entertaining guy, though, you know, in the ring. I mean, he's great on the mic. He's great in, you know, he does some great stuff in the ring. But yeah, I'm looking at him like, he looks bigger than I remember him.
Yeah. Well, and then at one point you had all of the big boys were coming off the top rope. I remember because at one point it wasn't Strowman up there, and then Otis was up there, and which is just like terrifying. Yeah, that's just a terrifying thought. Like, somebody's really going to hurt themselves, you know, or someone else.
I had a note about the Viking Raiders were showcased really nicely. They had some crazy double team moves they did on Ricochet and Montez Ford. It was just insane, and they looked vicious.
Oh yeah, totally.
Ivar with the moonsault was crazy, and then Strowman going to the top for the splash was just nuts. Like, I stopped taking notes. There was just so much stuff going on. Oh, I do have one last one. The Strowman Express was good, and then Dawkins taking him out was just incredible.
Oh yeah. Which is I mean, because Strowman is a very large human being, but like, it's you kind of forget like how big Ford and Dawkins are. Like, they are not little dudes, because but because they move so quick and they're flying around, you kind of lose track. Like, oh yeah, then you see them do stuff like that, and you're like, oh, I forgot, you're a beast. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, wasn't there like a Tower of Doom at one point or something?
I think there was.
That
I have one. Yeah, I have one note just saying this match is high spot heaven, because I couldn't keep up with everything that was going on. I mean, there was just so much action, and so no, I mean, this was, all the teams just did really good work in this. So, and then of course, you know, great double team move by Street Profits for the win. So I'm giving this one 4 stars. This blew me away just from an entertainment and just athleticism and, you know, just crazy high spot moves perspective. It was a really fun match.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I had it at 3.5 stars. I'm going with 4 stars because it was fun as hell.
Yeah.
Fun as hell to watch. I mean,
I did the same rating you did at first, and I'm looking at this like, okay, Theory and Cena, I put it 3.5, strong opener. But these guys took it up a notch. It wasn't that their match was better than Theory Cena, but it was just, it had an entertainment level to it that was different and seemed just higher energy. You know what I mean? And that's really what kind of pushed me over the edge to go up to 4. So entertaining Fatal 4-Way men's tag. Next up, we had Seth freaking Rollins versus Logan Paul, the bane of all that is, you know, from the internet. Oh boy, this one was another match that was served very well by the story it was telling. I loved how they built up to this and how they had Paul playing, you know, just the sneaky heel who's coming in and just getting these shots in on him and just needling it, like Rollins being the great mat technician wrestler and just getting thwarted by this little, you know, crap who is just in the business to make, you know, a couple $1 million, probably isn't going to be wrestling 5 years from now, you know, sort of thing. And framing it in this way where it's like Rollins has to beat this guy or Rollins is going to have some serious questions to ask himself afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, I loved how they focused in on that and they made it like this do or die for Rollins in his career, because it's like, if he loses, what is there for him? You know what I mean? It's like he's now lost to this guy who's doing this like as a part-time fun thing, you know? So I thought that really served the story of the match well, but But just great start to the match. At first I do have a note. Great robe. Both the guys had great entrances. But the robe that Rollins was wearing was just over the top, and then he starts taking off the robe, and he had like this throwback Double J gear. Did you notice that?
Yes, it was like the October
yes,
breast cancer awareness Double J alternate jersey version.
Yes.
I was like, what's going on here? Like, I was very, very confused and also but terribly amused because it fits.
Yeah,
it really fits. I'm digging Seth Rollins since he's kind of gone off the deep end.
Yep.
His character is delightfully unhinged at this point, and
yep.
I love the fact that they had the conductor come out. I thought that was a nice little touch.
That was a great touch. I do have a note when the Prime Energy drink was bouncing down the ramp. I'm like, mark my words, whoever this is getting involved later in the match, and well, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
but,
as Brian Zane says, it's Schrodinger's mascot. Like, so what's going to happen? Something's going to happen.
Oh, that was funny. But
no, I'm sorry. It's not Schrodinger. It's something else. That's a cat in the box. It's
yeah.
Oh shoot,
sorry,
I can't remember what it is.
Meaning. Oh
no, it's the it means it's like introducing a gun in a movie. It's like, okay, well then it has to be fired because it has to. You've introduced it and now something has to happen. So of course the energy drink mascot. It's like, well, now it's just a ticking time bomb. Something's going to happen.
It's like the photographer at the Hulk Hogan Yokozuna match. He looked suspect.
Yep,
and then he caused Hogan to lose.
Of course.
Good. I just have some notes. Good back and forth start. Logan Paul's a great heel. I'll give him that. There was some good offense from him. Good story being told. With Rollins kind of like he did a great job of showing how he's trying to overdo it to try to dominate Paul, and then Paul is just like, he's just taking these openings that Rollins is giving him to take control. And so I thought that was a really good touch that they did. And then let's see, impressive leap to the top by Paul into a missed moonsault. Like, I think he
that was cool. That was good.
Yeah, jumped up to the top rope. Let's see, Rollins had those 3 suicide dives, was just crazy. Just impressive. The near falls were incredible. They both did a great job, just trading near falls back and forth. Love the stomp on the hand that Rollins did, because they're telling this story of how Paul has this like knockout punch, and he took his hand and just like stomped on the steps, and Paul did a great job selling it for the rest of the match. He just had this really concerned look on his face and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, Logan Paul is. I had a note down there. Like, he's pretty damn good at this in terms of getting heat, in terms of playing the heel, and even athletically. Like, it's obvious that this dude can do this stuff. Like that box jump from like the canvas to the top rope.
Yeah.
That's a long ass way. That's one hell of a vertical leap.
Yes.
And then to immediately spring into a moonsault. I mean, I don't care what I might have to say about this match later. That is a hell of an athletic achievement. I can't even come close to doing that.
Yeah.
So I give the man credit there for sure.
Absolutely. I was going to keep going. Is there anything from the beginning, middle part of the match you want to touch on, or?
No, I'll give my thoughts at the end.
Okay. So then we get, as I marked in my notes, the Prime Bottle gets involved, and it turns out, I don't know anything about Logan Paul, but apparently he has a business partner named KSI who is having a lot of fun in the Prime Bottle. And so he was interfering, and they got Rollins on the table, and he's taking like a selfie of himself. And then that was actually great though. Like, Rollins just like pulls him onto the table, and like Paul does the jump, and it's like through the table, and the guy is just like flailing there in pain. Was awesome. So as the match gets back into the ring, thought it was great that Logan Paul broke out the GTS. That was CM Punk's finisher, and so just didn't expect to see that in the match, and that was incredible that he broke that out. Great near fall there, and then and then really the finish with the super kick and the stomp was just really well done. So I mean, just from beginning to end, I really liked this match. It told a great story. Rollins was really trying to overcompensate, and he was doing a good job kind of being frustrated, and Logan Paul taking advantage of it. And then it just kind of opened up into this nice back and forth between the two of them. Just a really, really good match. So I actually gave this one 4.5 stars. I was blown away by it. It really exceeded expectations. I didn't have high expectations for this, and it really rose above it.
Wow. Okay. Well, we are going to have have a little disagreement here because I'm giving this one 2.5 stars.
You're kidding me.
I am right down the middle on this one, and here's my reason why.
Oh my gosh.
I get what you're saying about the story about Logan Paul coming in and getting over on Rollins, because of shenanigans, things like that. I just think Rollins did not look even remotely strong in this match at all. He really didn't. He took all the abuse. Like, I get it if it was like real heel tactics and things like that, he was getting outdone by and shenanigans and all that. He wasn't. He was just straight up getting his ass kicked. He was getting his ass kicked by a YouTuber. And this is a guy who is way better than this. But
that was that's my point. That was the nuance of it, though.
I didn't see any nuance. I saw him getting his ass by a YouTuber, not through any heel shenanigans, not through like, chicanery. No, just out and out getting his ass handed to him. And to me, that is like, I get it. Like, you want to have these things that are going to pull people in. Fine. You're devaluing a guy who is on your roster. Because now it's like, well, it's almost like you go back to when, like when Sable powerbombed Mark Miro, and Steve Austin was like, well, how am I supposed to work with him now that he just got his ass handed to him by his wife?
Mm-hmm.
Same sort of thing. Like, where do you go with Rollins now? Like, he already took his beating with Bobby Lashley and the whole Austin Theory thing, and he didn't do well in that. And now he's in this thing with Logan Paul, where Logan has knocked him out 2-3 times. Just like cold cocked him and knocked him out cold. And then in this match, he spends most of it just getting beat, not getting beat through shenanigans or being cheated or anything like that, or getting, nothing, like just getting straight up beat by a part-time YouTube wrestler. I just don't dig it. And I get what you're saying. And if that's the way you feel, I'm not going to disagree with you, but that for me took, the 2.5 stars is for the actual appreciation of the nuance, because I just dislike the entire premise.
I mean, it's a difficult spot because they're plugging Paul in there because of his name and because of the fact that he is going to draw eyeballs to the product. He had no business taking on Roman Reigns for the championship out in Saudi Arabia. Like that to me was like I get where you're coming from, but if you suspend that and you just recognize, okay, they're using him for this. What I don't know, maybe I over valued this, or I was seeing something where maybe there wasn't something, but I felt like the story of Rollins kind of overdoing it, and I did see it in the match. He was being overly aggressive, and Paul was kind of taking advantage of it. I think is an interesting story because it levels that out. Then, you know what I mean? Like, no, Paul is not better than Rollins, but if Rollins is going to be reckless, and if Rollins is going to let his ego get the better of him because he thinks he needs to put this guy away quickly, and he's making mistakes along the way, that's a story I can buy into, because we've seen that happen with teams. We've seen that happen in boxing. We've seen that happen in a lot of different settings. And so that's why I was able to kind of buy into the story of what they're telling, because absolutely, I get what you mean. This guy's a part-timer. He has no business going. And I wrote this. I wrote in my notes on our outline, the match had no business to be as good as it was. I did not expect this to be a good match. I thought it was going to be a crap match. And it actually brought the drama and brought the suspense and was very entertaining and ended up with, the right result, because no, Paul should not have gone over Rollins. Rollins needed he should have won being, the full-time wrestler. So, But that's the problem is when you bring in these celebrities like this, you're absolutely right. They have no business. But is Reigns any worse because he had a competitive match with Paul? You can make the argument, I guess, but I don't know. So,
well, the fact is that Reigns has been pushed to the moon, and he's had those straps, stapled to him for so long. But to me, it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
WrestleMania is different than Crown Jewel, because Crown Jewel is specifically because it's for the money, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's magic every time. They go there, they make a butt ton of money, and Saudi Arabia kind of tells them what they want. They want like their own WrestleMania. And so if you want to serve that up on that show, go right ahead, whatever, because I know you're in it for the money. I know you're doing it, and you're doing everything left, right, and center to appease the government of Saudi Arabia, because you don't want to make any waves. So then all the women have got to be, like in a triple XL t-shirt and, covered, head to toe and all this. Like, okay, whatever. I know you're doing it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fine. This is your biggest show of the year. This is the show that you and it was said about 100 times, and I'm sick of hearing it. The showcase of the immortals. It's the big thing. You don't need to do it on your show here. There, you had 160,000 tickets sold for 2 nights. What is Logan Paul really bringing to this?
Yeah,
that's just how I feel about it. I get your point, and I'm not arguing your point. I'm just saying, like, that just completely missed me, and I just did not like the match. So I'm literally giving it 2.5 stars because of, I think it was actually a good performance. I just totally disagree with the reasons behind the story, and I think it's just not great. All that just kind of missed me.
All right, agree to disagree. It's all good. All right, next match, 6-woman tag with Damage Control, Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky versus Trish Stratus, Lita, and Becky Lynch. I am a big fan of how women's wrestling has evolved and where they are now. Unfortunately, this match for me was very clunky.
Oh, yeah.
Very clunky.
Yes.
And, I was trying to be understanding, Trish and Lita have been out of the ring for a long time. Some of it was them, but some of it was just in general. Like there just seemed to be something off. And I've noticed this with some of like the Io Sky and Dakota Kai. Like I think when we did War Games, we were noticing some things there too, where there just seemed to be something a little bit off. But Lita, like I have a note, Lita showed a lot of rust when she was in there with Sky.
I don't even think it's rust. But go ahead.
Okay.
I'll share.
So showing some rust. I thought Damage Control was showing good tag team wrestling, trying to cut the ring in half and control, who's tagging who and really, keeping the babyface team, kind of in peril and in trouble. And that's why I feel like all 3 ladies, Stratus, Lita, Becky Lynch, they all at certain points traded, being kind of the face in peril sort of thing. But yeah, it was just a little clunky. It kind of stood out because of that, because the prior matches were just so smooth and just had, really good action associated with them. So, I made a note too. The crowd just doesn't seem to be responding to like the finishers the ladies were dropping on each other. Just didn't seem to resonate. So I was a little underwhelmed in this one. But what about you, sir?
My high point was the Sin City intro video that they did for the faces. I thought that was kind of cool.
Nice.
And the fact that they continued like the black and white sort of thing until I forget when it switched back to color.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool. I had a note here that I'm always shocked about how over Becky Lynch is.
Mm-hmm.
I am shocked because I love the character. I love her on the mic. I think her in-ring work is good for the most part.
Yeah.
But it just still blows my mind just how over she is. Not, I guess, shocked, but it's always like, oh, I forgot like how over she is.
Mm-hmm.
I was always a huge fan of Lita.
Yeah.
Back when she was with the Hardy Boys, even actually, I think I remember when I first started watching wrestling with you, and she was still with S.A. Rios.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she started, getting some moves in here and there, and I was like, whoa, she's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I totally had like a wrestling crush on her as well. That didn't hurt, but I was always so impressed with her in terms of work, and I thought she just had this energy that she brought to everything that she did. So I was a huge Lita fan. Still am. I think, but man, I really hope that she's done soon.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's not rust. I think she is just a step slow, and hey, there's no shame in that. We all age. I'm not trying to bring any detriment there, but you have to know at a point, like, you can't keep up with the youngins anymore. Especially if your whole calling card is high risk and frenetic action, and if you can't move that fast anymore, it ain't going to work. And her hitting the ropes was second only to Snoop in like as gentle as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she is probably justifiably concerned about her neck and back, because I know she's had surgeries with that, and which to me is why I'm shocked that she's back in a ring.
Yeah.
I just hope that whatever the plan is here, that she gets this, she gets her last way of being able to, maybe this is her way of saying and then I call it quits on my terms. I hope she gets that and is able to walk away and does not get hurt between now and then, because I would hate to see that.
Yeah.
But man, clunky is a good way of putting that. And I put a lot of that on Lita, because I feel like she was just in the match a lot more than I think that she should have been. Honestly, I don't know why she's holding the tag belt with Becky. Like, I get it's cool, but man, Trish actually, to me, I thought Trish actually had less rust. And I'm like, and she's wrestled less.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying about Kai and Sky. It kind of makes me go like, well, maybe I don't know. There's something weird, but overall, like, there was very little chemistry between these six women, and the match did suffer, which is weird, because I mean, the friggin' crowd was in it for everything else, and this match was kind of the one that was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I've read some rumors that they might be building, with, when you asked about Lita and Becky having the tag belts, that they're moving to some, like, Trish turning heel and teaming up with someone, and running kind of some stories that way. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but
I hope not.
That was something. But what was your rating for this one?
2.5 stars.
All right, I gave it 3
down the middle.
I gave it 3.
I can't go any higher than that. I mean, 2.5 mostly because it's nostalgia. It's cool to see Trish and Lita out there.
Yeah,
kind of good to see them, like, getting to enjoy kind of the fruits of their labor, as far as, like, kind of being at the very beginning of that women's revolution in the way of actually, like, treating women as workers instead of just like objects. Really cool. I'm glad for them that they get to be part of it, I guess, but just zero chemistry. It was not good. Not good.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm being generous with 2.5, honestly.
Well, the heart wants what it wants. All right.
It does. What'd you give it, sir?
I'm sorry. I didn't give my rating yet. 3. I gave it 3 stars.
Ooh, you're real generous.
Yeah. I thought it was, I didn't feel like it was an average match. I thought it had some moments in it, but it didn't seem to get into a gear, and the crowd seemed a little bit out of it, so I just, compared to the other match ratings, I'm going to put 4. 3 is kind of the lowest I gave for the night. So I'm going to give it that, because it just, for the reasons we stated.
All right.
And now we enter into the match of the Mysterios. Dominic and Ray.
Yeah, this was like, I gotta say, great entrances here.
Oh my gosh, for both of them.
I mean, nice touch. Dom showing up in cuffs with the cops, like, that was nice. I like that.
You tell me you were waiting as the sirens came blaring over. You're waiting here. Big Papa Pump is your hookup.
Oh,
Holla
God.
if you hear me.
I didn't even think of that, and I'm glad I didn't, because it would have tainted it for me. I completely forgot about that. Oh no, please,
I had
dear
a note.
God, no.
Interesting entrance for Dominic. Half expected Scott Steiner to show up given the sirens.
Oh, that was so wrong. But then on the other hand, I mean, Ray got like the full.
Oh my
like
gosh.
he got 3 entrances.
Yep.
Like he got the pre-entrance with Snoop.
Yep.
Having Snoop's music in the lowrider, and then when they came out into the arena, or the stadium, sorry, not the arena, into the stadium, we got Eddie's music.
Got Eddie's music. Yep.
Oh, I lie, I cheat.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That was great. And then, of course, somehow he magically transported up to the top of that, like, 8,000 foot tall stage. And then we get the Rey Mysterio entrance, which I'm like,
which, by the way, that song is like an earworm in my head this week. Like, I cannot get, did 6-1. I cannot get it out of my head. It is there for the next week and a half until it slowly just goes away. But oh my God.
Well, I mean, could be worse, I guess.
But Dominic's entrance, similar to Austin Theory, I really like that they did that for him. I know when we did the Royal Rumble review, I was kind of joking about his talk about prison and all this stuff, but there was something about the way they did it and him coming out and, his mannerisms and stuff. Like, he really had kind of an aura about him this time. It didn't seem like a punk, kind of being led to the ring. He seemed like serious and, ready to do battle with someone, you know what I mean? And it just, I don't know, kind of, for me at least, it just gave him a little bit of an aura that I never really kind of saw in him before,
Yeah, I had a note down here because I can't quite make up my mind with Dominic. I fluctuate back and forth with him. I can't decide if Dom has genuine heat or if it's X-Pac heat. And it feels like the needle, it's like a compass that you've got a magnet around. Like, you just don't know where the hell it's going to wind up.
Yep.
I mean, the fact is, like, in the ring, he is smooth as silk at times.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
I mean, and then there's other times, not so much. I mean, but that's everybody. I mean, there's no one who is just, like, fantastic all the time. But, I mean, as a worker, man, there's times that I'm like, damn, he's good. He is really good. But kind of the whininess, it goes past like heel heat into this part of like, just go away. I can't listen to you anymore. Can you let mommy talk for you, please? 'Cause I just can't with you. Just stand there with your mullet and make faces, and here's a cookie, and he goes away. But yeah, no, the match was, I thought it was a pretty damn good match. I mean,
it really was. Yeah. Yeah, it good back and forth to start with. I love the Iron Man colors of Ray's outfit. I
couldn't tell if that was going to be Iron Man or Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I know it did have kind of a Hulk flair to it as well. And the mask he wore, I'm not a big fan of the mask where he has like all the fuzz on, like he has the fuzz mohawk on top or whatever. Like I liked like that mask, that he was wearing. It just had a good look to it and just, I don't know, seemed kind of modern. So anyways, I like that. But yeah, good back and forth. I love Ray with the old school belt, school belt whooping on Dominic. That was fantastic. It's like wham, wham. There we go.
That was great. Oh my gosh.
And then
Dominic,
of course, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, then Dominic, John with the family, and Mama Mysterio giving him the slap.
Oh yeah.
And at that moment, she was more over than Ray and anybody else. Like, SoFi went nuts for Mama Mysterio, and I did too. I was there. I was like, get him.
That was good.
That
was good.
The moment when Dominic like catapulted over his head Ray into the bottom turnbuckle.
Oh yeah.
Holy crap.
Yep.
Like, there was like, I can't tell if Ray is just that good at selling or if he was just like, just go ahead and lay him in, kid.
Right.
I couldn't tell. I mean, some of this stuff that looked brutal, and I was like, oh, sheesh.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of good selling, nice story back and forth in the whole thing. I thought
Judgment Day shows up to build up some overwhelming odds for Ray, and then the LWO. I love it. Shows up, and Bad Bunny not letting the chain. Bad Bunny, I think, is going to come back with another Canadian destroyer on someone, probably Dominic at this point. But yeah, no, just an entertaining match. Good build up toward the end, and Ray.
Well, I like how they actually. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying Ray with the 1, 2, 3. So
yeah, I like how they did the turnbuckle. Taking off the turnbuckle, to distract from going to get the chain. I was like, that because at first when the ref turned around, I'm like, oh, they blew it. They're gonna have to work this around. I'm like, oh no, using a little bit of logic. I like that. That was kind of cool.
Absolutely, yeah. I thought that was great too. So yeah, no, just a great match all around. It was another one of those that I didn't have high expectations for because I'm still not completely sold on Dominic, but this match did a lot to kind of, showcase him and him with his dad and, when you kind of take the story part of it away and just, on YouTube, I was watching some behind the scenes footage and stuff like that. It is very cool that he gets to wrestle his dad in that event. You know what I mean? I mean, what a great, thing for him and his dad to get to go out and do for, I think they had probably close to a 15-minute match. And I mean, it was really well done. And, no, he's doing a great job as a heel. I do have a note here when he went to do his own 619. I wrote boo on the Dom 619. I don't like that. That's a Ray only sort of thing. So,
well, the thing is, he doesn't manage to get I think it's partly the height. Yeah. Like he's just that much taller than his dad. So when he comes around, it isn't that quick snap.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And also, I mean, Ray's been doing that forever. I just looked up Rey Mysterio's age because I was like, he's 48. Seems like he's been around forever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, and my God, you look at him in the ring, he doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. So it's crazy.
Maybe a little, but not that much.
No.
Not that much. I mean, again, it's always funny when I'm trying to judge people and say they're a little slow. Like, have you looked in the mirror lately? Yes, I have. Believe me. I'm not putting myself into this equation.
Oh, that's funny.
I try to do a 619. I'd probably get like a
you'd have to like Shane McMahon again.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be hung up in the ropes like,
that's going to be the bar unto which we measure ourselves now. Well, if I did this, I'd end up like Shane McMahon.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what was your rating for this, sir?
I give this 3 3/4 stars.
Oh, 3.75. I did the same.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid match and it was entertaining. Like it wasn't
Absolutely.
just it just kind of flew by.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good pace.
All right, and now the match that I know Uncle Todd has been jonesing to talk about because he is all in the bag. If he is in the bag for one Katie Sackhoff from a sci-fi perspective, when it comes to the world of wrestling, he is all in the bag for Rhea Ripley. And
I am, yes.
We have Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. Take it away, sir. I've been kind of leading a lot of these. Why don't you jump in with your thoughts, and I'll kind of provide color.
Well, I thought it was interesting that they did point out, and of course it's a gimmick, but I thought it was cool too. This was the first ever all women's match at WrestleMania. So you had both participants, ref and ring announcer, which I was like, that's okay. That's kind of cool, That is. And I mean, just. Charlotte, I'm wondering exactly what was going on with the ring robe. Apparently, she needed the cold weather gear in Southern California. I don't know, but hey, a puffy jacket is a puffy jacket, and sometimes you just want to be warm.
That's right. That's right.
But this man, these two.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing that, like, to me,
great chemistry.
Oh yeah, but it's just one of those deals where it's almost to their detriments. Because you look at them and you're like, who believably is going to beat either of them?
Yeah, right.
Because they are just, in terms of stature, they are just that much taller and just kind of more like just a bigger stature than 80% of the women's roster.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. I mean, they have to be kind of careful what they do with them, because otherwise you could just get stuck into this point of like, well, no one can beat them.
Yeah.
And they exhibited that here, because this is a very physical match all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought well paced, because they gave moments for the match to breathe, so it didn't turn into just spot. Like there was a story unfolding throughout the physicality of the match. A lot of stiff shots. Oh my gosh, stuff that looked and sounded like it hurt like hell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the shots, like, I don't know exactly how they managed, but they got like a pop out of the hit that I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I felt that through the TV screen.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the Charlotte's counter out of the riptide that went into that DDT.
Oh my God. Yeah. Ripley looks like is just dead after that. You know what I mean? Like, she takes that DDT, she sells it so well, and is just
and she does such a great job with her sell of like that whole, like, not just like having there's many, it's a spectrum of shading when it comes. It's not just like she flops over and she's dead. It's like she has, like, there's an out of it, and then there's a more out of it, and then there's a pain, and then there's this, I'm like painfully crawling. There was one point where I don't know, it wasn't that hit, it wasn't that move, but there was another move where she got dropped, and then she kind of pulls herself back up on the ropes, but it's almost that same sort of thing. Like, if you hurt yourself, like if you fall and you're so in pain that you like kind of spring back up, because you're like, oh gosh, and like, even though you're in pain standing up, like your reflexes are just like, get up, that sort of thing. Like there's a lot of like degrees to her selling. And I think that's, and her character, she's, again, just exudes this charisma that, like, you just want to watch her do stuff. Man, although the thing that you didn't want to watch her do is drop Charlotte on her face. That was rough to watch, because it was even worse because before, like 5 minutes before that, they talked about, oh well, she almost landed on her face, and then she does.
Yeah.
And then they kept replaying it. I'm like, guys.
Yeah.
Charlotte's going to kick your ass for doing that replay like 8 times.
100%.
And she could. But yeah. And oh man, that was rough. But man, I think Mick Foley would definitely comment, that's not the way you want to take that bump.
Yeah.
I thought that, about midway through this match, I mean, the crowd was kind of into it at the beginning. About midway through the match is when the crowd just totally shifted into another gear.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so into it. By the time that Ripley had Flair in that like cloverleaf submission thing, that crowd, they could have done anything they wanted.
The prism lock.
Yeah, the crowd was so with them in the moment. It was crazy. You could just tell. I mean, it wasn't like that Montreal crowd from the last pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It approached it at moments though. But man, then the finish. Oh, jeez. Like Flair just banging off that ring post. And at that point, you're like, yeah, she did.
I'm wondering if they gimmick those ring posts though. Like they just sound so awful when they hit them. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you figure it's an LED wrap, so it's got to be somewhat hollow between that and the actual metal post in there. And if you're hitting the top, it's like hitting like a big plastic barrel. Yeah, that's how I think about it. But I mean, she sold that, and of course, like the fact that she just continued to sell as like completely limp. Like Rhea's was getting her set up for that second rope, riptide, and literally Charlotte's just dead weight.
Yeah.
She was not helping at all. I'm like, damn, that is like commitment to the sell on that.
Yeah.
And Rhea wins, and hell of a match.
Yeah.
Hell of a match. 4.5 stars from me.
I gave it the same. Really don't have a whole lot to add. I mean, I think you covered all the high points. I do have a note. I forget who gave the spear, but there was a spear toward the end that just looked sick, and the near fall.
I think that was Charlotte.
Was that Charlotte? Yeah. I mean, just a really well done spear. Drama was off the charts. Yeah, we talked about the prism lock. I mean, that was just a crazy visual. I have a note. My last note before the finish was just I mean, they both had the crowd eating out of their hands as they were exchanging blows. Like they're just doing this back and forth, and the crowd was just they were with them every step of the way. So 4.5 stars. This was a phenomenal match, and just really enjoyed it. I mean, it was a pleasure to watch, and this is what I mean. I mean, I think when you have the right personalities and talent and story build up to it, you have the women put on, compelling, sometimes even more compelling matches than the men do. And this I would put this up against, the tag match we're going to talk about in a minute and the main event from the next night. I mean, it was that good. So,
it was.
So 4.5 from me as well, sir.
And one other thing I want to mention was, oh shoot! I was going to mention it, and then it totally left my head. Son of a mother.
Well, we can talk about the next segment if you want, and you can jump back in.
Yep. No, it's gone. Okay.
All right.
Let's move on.
All right. Next segment. Be real quick on this one. The Miz and Snoop come on out, and all of a sudden we have Pat McAfee coming out for some sort of impromptu match. They did, prior to the match being announced, they did announce the attendance, an impressive 80,497 for night one. Then McAfee's music hits, and he comes out for some impromptu match with the Miz, and I can't stand the guy. I gave this negative 575 stars. It originally was negative 5.75, but I threw out the decimal point because I just couldn't stand it. So anyways, just a throwaway, kind of, I think it was a breather, kind of between the women's championship and the tag championship match. So that's all I got to say about that. I don't know if you had a rating for this or not.
I got to be honest, I skipped over it. Because this was in the portion of my catch up today. So
gotcha.
But just from your description, I do actually feel comfortable giving this a rating.
Oh, okay.
I am going to give this negative 783 stars.
You always have to take it a notch above what I put.
Well, somebody's got to heel it up around here and keep you honest.
All right, sir. As we close out night one and the action theretofore with unto forth. The undisputed tag team championship match of the Usos taking on Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. The Usos, I believe, were at 622 days, if I'm getting my numbers right. So almost
something like that.
Close to 2 years as the undisputed tag team champions. This was every bit of the great match that we were coming to expect this to be, and the emotions were off the charts. I have a note here. I don't get emotional very much when at least, kind of, dusty in the room emotion. There was something about seeing Owens and Zayn walk together, and I've, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm a real deep sort of indie guy, when they were on the indies and stuff in the 2000s. I really learned about them kind of in the late 2000s, early, 2010s, followed them through NXT. That was really when I got kind of locked into them. There was something really cool about seeing the two of them walk the aisle, though, knowing their story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like knowing this has been 2 decades kind of in the making for both of them. They've both kind of made it on their own. They both have achieved a level of success in WWE on their own. But to now have them together, because I think these two are really brothers, and just two guys who have just been together from the very beginning of their careers, and so it was really cool to see them, kind of walk the aisle together. I mean, just seeing Kevin kind of come out first and then look behind him waiting for Sammy to come out, and then just the two of them just, kind of making the walk down the aisle was just like, that's got to be really cool. So for both of them, just really enjoyed the entrances that way. And
good call on using Sammy's music for the bulk of the intro. I mean, Oh my gosh, you want to talk about an earworm. If that had lyrics, it'd be all over.
And
just be there forever. And
what's really cool about this, so Owens last year had that match with Stone Cold, which was just, probably an amazing honor for him, to be in a segment and in a match with probably someone he looked up to, when he was a teenager. But to your point, there has been a tone to this, and I know it's kind of come out in their promos and is probably, Owens speaking some truth here. He's really done a great job of elevating Sammy. Like, look, this guy has I don't think anyone's going to argue. Sami Zayn is a big reason why the bloodline is still a thing. I don't know that the bloodline is nearly as interesting for the, for mid-year on till now without him.
No. If you don't have like Sammy trying to get in, then getting to Sammy
absolutely.
Uso, honorary Uso, all that. No, there's the
so
drama's gone.
Owens has just been showing a lot of deference to Zayn, just making this kind of his moment, and I again, I think that goes to the relationship between the two of them. I think, they've just done so much, and I think for Kevin, it's rewarding for him to see his friend, get the level of reaction and recognition that he's been getting. So for the match itself, I mean, great intensity from Owens, before the bell rings. Like he came looking for a fight, I mean, he is ready to go. And
which I do appreciate about his character. Like he just does feel like that guy, like almost like there's a little bit of Sandman.
Yes.
There, as just the way that Paul Heyman described him, is this is a guy who just is coming and he wants a fight.
Yes.
Like that just seems to be Kevin Owens, and I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
Before we get into the actual match, though, I just want to point out of the 4 gentlemen involved in this match, everyone's wearing a shirt upon entrance. The only one who removes his shirt is Sammy, and he's probably the one guy that should have kept the shirt on. Least impressive physique. I look at him and I'm like, I was like, that is a dude that I've seen at my local water park. Like, this does not look like a professional athlete, but yet at the same time, I'm like, I really appreciate that. Like, this is a dude who's going out there who looks like he was driving his cab, and they're like, "Hey, you want to work? Sure."
Indeed. Indeed.
Oh, I noticed that, and I started giggling as I was rewatching it, as I was watching it today. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing, Sammy? What are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, great, strong start with the Usos, building some really good, heat with the crowd. Sammy being the face in peril, while I wrote this. Owens is smoldering. Like he just looked like it. He's just like if steam could come out of his ears, it would be like, let me into this match. I want to beat the hell out of these guys.
Yeah. And I love how Graves was talking about how KO can't touch the legal man because it'll cause a disqualification. I'm like, that's happened like 10 times tonight already. Like, for God's sake, Graves, where have you been? Did you fall asleep at the wheel? Were you smoking with Snoop? Where have you been? That happened like all the time in like the other 2 tag matches that happened tonight. Where were you?
So I have a note. I forget who did but I wrote, damn, an impromptu frog splash on the outside. I don't remember who did this.
No, that was KO, because that was when he finally got tagged. He got tagged in, and he was beating up the Usos, and I love that because he had knocked out one of them. I think it was Jimmy, and they rolled Jay back into the ring, and as he got up on the apron, he just kind of looked back and he's like, screw it, and just gave him a quick frog splash on the outside, and then climbed up, and then he frog splashed the guy in the ring, and I was like, you know what, I love that, just that little look, like, you're not getting away that easy.
Yeah. Owens is fantastic. He is fantastic.
It was just such a little thing, and I'm like, I so appreciated it.
Yeah. Good back and forth. Owens hitting a senton, Jimmy hitting an Uso splash. I have a lot of notes about just KO bringing, like, he was bringing the emotion in the match. He was wearing it on his sleeve, and he was just bringing it.
Well, he had to, because Sammy was just like, Sammy was just basically playing like dead on his feet for most of the match. Like,
he was, he was the face in peril, and he was always, just getting the crap kicked out of him. I don't remember who did this, if it was KO or someone else, but there was a brain buster on the apron that
was Sammy. That was Sammy, which was gorgeous. And it looks like it was devastating.
Incredible.
Oh, gosh. How you do that without like crippling someone? I don't know.
Yeah, he and KO, they have an entire moveset that's based around just the edge of the ring. You know what I mean? Like, KO does, he hasn't done it in a long time, might be banned from doing it, but when he first debuted, he basically attacked Sami Zayn in NXT, and that was the first time I had seen a power bomb where he power bombed him on the edge of the ring. It was the most, it was sick looking.
How do you take that without getting hurt?
I don't know. And then you have the other thing where Zayn used to have this thing where he'd be on the outside, he'd run around the corner, dive like across the other corner of the ring, and then do like a tornado DDT on the guy who's on the other, like if his opponent is standing on the other side of the ring post on the outside of the ring, Sammy would run, slide through the bottom corner of the ring, all the way through, hook his opponent's head, and then swing him around into a tornado DDT. It's an amazing thing to watch. I don't know how they do it. But just so innovative with their movesets, and it was just incredible. But yeah, just the match was just off the charts and just amazing in terms of action. Just so much emotion with everything. A lot of near falls. Sammy taking a bunch of just abuse and beatings throughout the match. The super kicks were brutal.
Oh, quick question for you.
Yeah,
does anybody deliver super kicks better than the Usos? They all look just like they are making full contact.
Young Bucks,
and the fact that
Young Bucks and AEW do them.
Okay, I've never seen them in action, so I just have the
pretty
WWE.
Good, but no, I would say the Usos are probably up there as.
I mean, it's like
best.
90% of their offense, but still, it's just always impressive because it just looks fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I have notes here. Just the super kicks on Zayn were just brutal. Just brutal.
Oh yeah. And Sammy and KO in this match were kind of not necessarily like Rhea where there's shading to it, but they know at a certain point, like, okay, we should be really exhausted, and it's not like the same selling that you do early in the match.
Yeah.
There's times when they would just get hit and they went down like a sack of crap.
Yeah.
Like exactly how you would picture someone in a real fight after they just got hit. They just crumple.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's a nice touch.
Yeah. Let me see. There was a table spot with Owens that I noted was really good. I have a note, Zayn just kind of bringing that instinctive emotion when he just kind of broke out that blue thunder bomb out of nowhere, where he was just, basically like just at the end of his rope in terms of, being able to continue to perform. Just the selling that they did was amazing. Like, this was not a Owens and Zayn, dominating the Usos. I mean, they were getting the crap kicked out of them for most of the match, and Jay and Jimmy just could not find a way to put them away. It was just great storytelling. And then
even
we get
this
to
kicking
the end
out, Sammy kicks out of the 1D.
Yeah. Yep. Sammy kicked out of the 1D. No one had ever done that before. And then we get to the end where they just do this great sequence where KO is up on the rope. He does that kind of, it's such a strange. It looks like it's going to be a suplex, but he like rotates the guy in like midair.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, I forget the name of the move, but it is incredible.
It looks like it's a mistake halfway through, and I'm like, no. and then everything's
absolutely.
Okay. I'm like, oh, thank God.
It looks like a mistake, but then when they land, it looks like the safest move in the world because it's like, okay, he's going to be all right.
Oh my gosh. But it makes I've seen him do it a couple times, and it makes my heart jump every single time. I'm like, I'm going to watch someone get paralyzed on TV. I don't need this.
Yeah. And so he does that to Jay, and then Sammy gets Jay positioned for a haluva kick, and then I love how Jimmy comes in and he just gets stunnered and thrown back out of the ring.
Yeah, but because after they had one of the comebacks, it was the comeback right before the end.
Yeah.
And when one of the Usos kicked out, and Cole was totally channeling JR with a damn kick out. Like for a second, I'm like, dude, if you had an Oklahoma accent, you'd be right there. Like, what happened? Like somewhere JR's like, that's pretty good there, right there, kid.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh,
it's great.
Yeah. No, and that's what I mean. That's what's been fun, listening to Cole and Graves just kind of be themselves, and so that's been great. But and then we get to the end, and the end was just, again, just great storytelling. It's Jay and Sammy. And Sammy's just in the corner, and I love how every time he does these three kicks, there's a pause, and they close up on his face, and you see the emotion in Sammy. Nails a haluva kick, picks him up, and I mean, just Jay just like falls on him the same way that Kevin fell on Sammy, the same way that Sammy fell on Jay or on Jimmy when he got cracked with a super kick. And then he pushes him back, lines him up for second one, same pause, does the same thing, just catches him, pushes him back up, and then does the third one and pins him, and just the place goes freaking insane. And the coolest part was the place is going insane, and I don't know why my eye caught this, but I look at Owens, and he's just sitting there on the mat with his hands on his face, like you could tell this was like an emotional thing for them. You know what I mean? Like, they're main eventing a night of WrestleMania, the two of them, They've won the championships. They've never won the tag championships, before. Just all in all, what a storybook ending to this whole thing.
Yeah. Did they even announce them at the end? Because I remember hearing the announcer at one point, and your winners. So. But then I didn't hear them after that. Like it was almost like someone grabbed their arm or something. Was like, no, shut up.
Oh, gotcha.
Listen to the crowd.
Yeah.
Like that. It was one of those moments and I was expecting to hear, and your winners and new.
Right. Right.
But it was like, I don't remember hearing that. I'll have to go back and listen to hear if they ended up announcing them. But really, I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah.
Because I remember they just cut off and I'm like, what a great decision, because the crowd was absolutely deafening.
Yeah. Oh,
it was crazy.
It was. So
genuine emotion, which was great.
Yeah, and so I wrote damn near so for my rating I just wrote it was a damn near perfect match with the champs dominating Owens and Zayn. Great emotion across the entire match. I gave this 5 stars. This was a perfect match.
Agreed. 5 stars for me as well.
All right.
Can't argue with that one bit.
That concludes night 1.
All right, hang on a second. I gotta take a pee break.
I was gonna. Okay, I'm glad you blinked first because I was gonna ask for it.
Nope, I will gladly blink because I think these tears are yellow.
Oh gosh! All right, go.
All right, be back.
So that wraps up night 1. So WrestleMania night 2, once again, from SoFi Stadium in Englewood, California. No, they didn't move it to another venue because that's one long ramp, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, great call, by the way, using Hollywood Swingers by Kool and the Gang.
Oh, wasn't that great?
Oh,
Hollywood.
Well, the funny part is, just to further diverge from our subject here, I'll see if I can find, I know I can find it because I've watched it about 80 times. There is a clip of Prince when he, on one of his last tours, and he was at whatever the arena is in Englewood. And he was, one of his finales, one of his curtain calls was coming out and doing Play That Funky Music. By Wild Cherry, and he transitioned from that into Hollywood Swingers, except he was doing it Englewood Swingers.
Oh, wow.
And
nice.
of course, it's like one of the funkiest things you've ever heard.
Oh, of course.
Incredibly cool because it's Prince. I mean, come on. So every time I hear that song now, I'm thinking of Prince.
Nice.
Which I'm
nice.
Sorry, Kool and the Gang. I love you guys too.
All right. Well, night 2, once again, we had a cold open with Kevin Hart being Kevin Hart, and then we had a live intro with The Miz and Snoop Dogg to kick things off. But the opening match, Brock Lesnar versus...
Whoa. Wait a minute. We can't let this go by without pointing out that Corey Graves was wearing $1 Million Man's Sunday Go to Meeting suit. I mean, you remember that, like the white with the gold lapels and the whole thing? Like,
okay, yeah,
looks like it came out of Ted. Like it looks like he jacked that from Ted DiBiase's wardrobe. To be quite honest with you, like he was hanging out and he was like, you know what? I'm taking this with me.
That's
funny. My gosh, yeah, it's just missing the big dollar signs on it. That's all.
And the cackle.
Oh yeah, that would be. Oh.
But opening match was Brock Lesnar versus Omos.
Brock jerking the curtain here. I mean, who would have thunk it? This is like,
hey, if Brock isn't fighting for the title, Brock is curtain jerking because he wants to get on the plane and go home.
So, he's like James Brown. Let's hit it and quit it.
That's right. All right. So this was kind of a short match, but was actually I don't want to say, well, it exceeded my expectations. I mean, Omos, I didn't have really high expectations for. It was actually really cool to kind of see him throw Brock around a little bit. You don't normally see that.
Made Brock look human.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was a really well booked match.
Well, that when he picked him in the bear hug a couple times and was like up off his feet, like almost to the point where you could kind of ragdoll him like that.
Yes.
I'm not used to seeing Brock Lesnar in that position, like feet clearly off the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, he looks like a child compared to this dude.
Yeah. And you'll appreciate this given what we opened the show with. I have a bullet point number 2 under this match. Oh, good God, the old big man bear hug. Did Vince book this? Mm-hmm.
I feel like I need to be Buford T. Justice with my like Tibetan monk thing.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, Omos looked downright dominant during the match, and then Lesnar found an opening, hit some German suplexes, and then hit him with an F5. And it was incredible. It was actually a much better match than I was expecting. I gave it 3.5 stars, sir.
I gave it 3 stars.
All right.
I mean, you know what? I'm gonna upgrade it to 3.5. It was
all right.
It was brief. It was what it needed to be, and yeah, it's not easy to make Brock look human. And the other disappointing thing here is I had a note here said, and also could lead to some more interesting things down the line. Yeah.
Open mouth, insert foot.
Back when we were naive, less than a week ago.
Indeed.
All right.
Next match was the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag. So basically mirroring night 1, we now have the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag, which had Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan versus Shotzi and Natalya versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville versus Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey.
Collectively known as the black hole of charisma at this point.
No charisma from those two.
No.
So this was not a great match.
Well, it doesn't help that like at 30 seconds into the match, all of the rules surrounding a tag match go out the window. Who's legal? Yeah. What count is it when people are outside the ring? Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Who cares?
Agreed.
Although I did have a note here. There was a nice suicide dive by Shotzi with Natalya holding the ropes open, which I thought was a nice little detail. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That and Raquel powerbombing Liv onto everyone outside.
Yes,
which was pretty impressive to see.
That was, and then Natalya doing the double sharpshooter was really cool.
Yeah, man. When is Natalya gonna? I mean, she's been around a while, hasn't she?
Yeah.
She just doesn't. I don't know. Just her work has not felt like it meshes with some of the other women that she's been in the ring with lately. I don't know what it is, but anyways.
You mentioned who could stand toe to toe with Rhea Ripley. What do you think of Raquel Rodriguez?
Oh, good God, yeah.
Because
although I think that'd be an interesting match, but I also would like to see someone. I would like to see someone with like a genuine mean streak who doesn't necessarily match up with her size wise as kind of an opponent. I think that would be an interesting as well. But Raquel Rodriguez could do it too. Like no doubt.
Yeah. So Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey steal the W, and apparently are just playing the too cool for school heels here. So just stupid looks on Ronda Rousey's face afterwards, where she's just kind of like doing this like heelish grin. But I'm just like, you're just, I don't know. I have a note just saying solid effort from the ladies, but nothing really stood out. The Ronda finish was a little cheesy, but it was, you can maybe chalk that up to some heel building. So I gave this 3 stars.
Oof. Once again, with your generosity, sir, where were you when I was waiting tables for a living? I really would have appreciated you stopping by a couple times a week. I'm giving this one 2.5 stars.
All right.
Right down the middle. My big question is, who does Rousey have blackmail on to keep getting wins and pushes at this point? Because she is the blandest of the bland. She is a mayonnaise sandwich on white bread. There is nothing there.
Yep.
Nothing whatsoever. And the thing is, like, I think that the idea of putting her with Baszler is a good one. Like the idea of like, okay, they're just, stone cold killers would work.
Yeah.
The problem is they've needed a mouthpiece.
They do. Yeah.
Because I don't think either one of them are really good. And when they have to cut into like their heelish sort of tactics, they kind of go into this area where it's like, now you're not killers. Now you're kind of just like playground bullies,
right?
But that doesn't fit with like how badass you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like everybody else in the match was more impressive than those two, and that's saying something because I wasn't impressed with Natalya at all.
Yeah,
and Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville really don't do much for me in the way of work. So
the lack of character and story in this match really stood out, and so So next segment was Bobby Lashley kind of walking out with the big old Andre the Giant Battle Royal trophy to celebrate his winning that Battle Royal.
When did that happen?
What's that?
When did that happen?
I think it happened like Friday. I don't know if it happened Friday on SmackDown or if it was something else, but yeah, it was Friday night at some point.
Okay.
I gave the whole thing 0 stars with a note that says "sad way to incorporate the Almighty." I think having LA Knight come out and get his tail kicked by Lashley would have been much more entertaining, but apparently this is what good old Vince decided to settle on. So, you have a star rating for this segment, sir, or are you not partaking?
Yeah, I'll give it a 0.
Okay.
Yeah. Which the funny thing is, we're joking, we're kind of joking about that, but reports are that Vince was in Gorilla on the headset for both nights of WrestleMania.
Oh boy!
So he was already involved.
Now we get to the good stuff.
Yes,
the Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat slap the chest as hard as you possibly can match, because this was brutal in a way that I don't think the word brutal was intended to be used for.
I like the fact that, I think Mick Foley once described it as like, we hit each other about as, surprisingly hard for people who actually like each other,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you get arrested for this in other areas, but it's just another day at the office for these guys.
Yeah. Just the intros. I was texting Uncle Todd. So Uncle Todd and I were watching this live night 2. I forgot to mention this, and I texted him when McIntyre comes out and he rests the sword on his shoulder. I'm like, I said something about Drew's got to be careful. I don't want to nick a carotid artery there with that thing. You know what I mean? It's
the thing that what kind of caught my mind first when McIntyre came out, because he had the all white sort of thing going. He had like the white kilt.
Mm-hmm.
For a split second, I'm like, how did Val Venus get booked? I didn't know he was on this show. Is there a Legends segment that I'm not aware of? And no, it's McIntyre.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. Nicely done.
Hello, ladies.
That was, oh my gosh. That
I am Rick Rude for version 2.0
would not work today.
No. Well, I don't know. I actually think that you could pull that off. Right. I think there's a way that you could do that. It would be way more of a comedy thing, though. You'd have to really. I'm trying to find a way that isn't like all pun. I was going to say you have to massage that, but that's not the way I want to go with that. Geez. I'm trying to find a way that it's not like pun heavy on this.
Oh boy.
But anyways, let's just let that go.
For Gunther's intro, I was texting Uncle Todd about how I love I forget his hype man's name, because it used to be one thing. I think it changed when again. I think the Imperium members were part of the cuts that had happened at one point, and then they were brought back, thankfully. But I love after he does the intro. I mean, just the way he says the ring general.
Yes.
And then the music starts, and I just love the over dramatic like head pivot at the same time from the two of them to look over where he is. That was fantastic. What a great intro for him. And just looking like a total badass coming down the aisle and everything, but just a strong start to the match. Gunther, with McIntyre and Sheamus knocking Gunther out of the ring, and then just the two of them just starting to beat the hell out of each other. Was just
but before that, like he was basically trying to get them like, I'll stand back so you two can fight, and then they beat the hell out of him and toss him out of the ring, and then they start fighting.
And
which I was like,
yes, yeah.
Don't you tell us how to start fighting? We'll beat you up.
That's
now we
right.
can beat each other up.
That's right.
It's great.
Also got to call out Titus O'Neil. Absolute pleasure on commentary. He was cracking me up. He's like, he's like, you got to call the police.
That should be in the WWE shop. today. I mean, it really, there's no excuse for it not to be.
Absolutely. Just with every
really
chop he was saying that, and it was so funny.
Oh, yeah. And it was a race just to see who was going to get their chest busted open first. And, of course, Sheamus won. I mean, that's
Sheamus
obvious.
won. But there comes a point in the match where Gunther and McIntyre, oh, my gosh, just absolutely laying it in as hard as they possibly could on each other. And it was incredible. Just chop after chop after chop. Gunther's chest was just torn up afterwards. It was so incredible. And just
the
listen to the commentator. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, the commentators were giggling. And I don't think that was a total shoot. Like, they were giggling at the brutality. Like, Cole was downright giddy.
Like, he was apologizing. He's like, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but it's just so surreal.
It is, because you're like, this is supposed to be the fake fighting sport, but these guys are literally beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. It was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Just incredible.
And friggin' Gunther's clotheslines coming out of the corner.
Oh, brutal.
Oh, stupid stiff is how I phrased it.
Yeah.
Stupid stiff.
Yeah.
And then there was one point where I don't even know where half of this leads to, because it was all just like, it was like potatoes being thrown left, right, and center.
Oh, yeah.
But I had one note: McIntyre yeeting Sheamus into Gunther in the corner.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means, but apparently it was worth that, with an exclamation point at the end of it.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know. The whole thing, though, was just so damn stiff of like
it
work.
was brutal. I have the word brutal just littered through my notes. I mean, I'm just watching this, like, this is incredible. Like, this is a fight. I mean, the guys are taking care of each other, but at the same time, when they're doing those chops and some of those moves, I mean, they are really bringing out the reality of it as much as they possibly can. And, Sheamus beating the hell out of McIntyre's chest was just, I mean, that was impressive. I was just like, holy moly.
When he was doing the beats of the Bowdrin, and it was like, I thought he was going for 39 for like WrestleMania 39. Like, it was almost like a birthday spank sort of thing.
Yes.
I'm like, he's not stopping. And after a while, like, McIntyre must be like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to crumple. He just stop hitting me.
Please, dear God, enough.
It was a great. So I started following Sheamus on Instagram. Quality follow, by the way, because he does the whole like YouTube series of his workout, like doing other people's workouts, which is pretty interesting, just to see what other people are doing. But he posted a photo of like him and McIntyre like laying down backstage, and they're just like laying like sprawled across like these wooden pallets in like the loading dock area, like just sweaty, just like bruised and everything, and he's just like, pints.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you guys definitely earned more than a few pints. You know what? Like,
absolutely.
I hope someone else buys them for you.
That's funny. What's some other notes? Sheamus's white noise from the top was impressive. McIntyre did I think a suicide dive flying out of the ring. That was incredible. Onto Sheamus, and I forget if it was Sheamus and Gunther or just Sheamus, but
it might have been the two of them.
Yeah. Great finishers laid on by McIntyre and Sheamus. Just, McIntyre hitting his I forget the name of his kick that he does there.
Yeah.
I forget. Anyways, he does his maneuver. Sheamus does his boot. I mean, both were just super impressive. But then Gunther, of course, has to top it all, because Gunther powerbombs Sheamus on McIntyre.
Yes.
And then he powerbombs McIntyre for the pin. And that was just such a great finish to such a brutal match. I mean, it was just like, that's fantastic. Powerbomb the one guy on top of the other, and then take the guy on the bottom and beat him up some more, and then pin him. It was just it was brilliant. Just brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Booked. Oh, my gosh. What a match. And anything I missed there?
No.
Right.
It was nothing that, I mean, it was just hit after hit after hit after
so
hit.
I ended up giving this one, actually, I'm going to make a last minute change. I'm going to give this 4.75 stars.
Wow.
4 3/4. This was near as perfect a match as you can have for a for the Intercontinental Championship. It was really good, and just the brutality of the three of them was, I mean, just equal across the board. They just were all just beating on each other. It was a fun match to watch. What about you, sir?
I gave it 4 stars. I mean, I not to detract anything. It was a brawl, and it was an entertaining as hell brawl, but it was a brawl.
Yeah.
And it told a great story. It was fun. It was brutal as all hell. 4 stars is no shame in that game.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
All right, next match, WWE Raw Women's Championship with Bianca Belair, who is in a 1-year reign. This was the 1-year mark, and she was taking on challenger Asuka for the Women's Championship. So yeah, just in general, great intro for both of them. Asuka always flamboyant, colorful, and impressive, and then Bianca Belair coming out. She had this dance troupe that was kind of doing. I think it was a local Inglewood dance troupe that. I forget what was involved there. What was that?
Yeah, that was cool. No, I was trying to remember the name of it because for some reason the name got stuck in my head for a couple days, and now I can't remember what it is. But they were great, but, and she did great with them.
Yeah, I watched the press conference or listened to it Monday morning with Triple H, and he basically shared a story. The one little girl who was kind of like the contortionist. Apparently, her mom passed away earlier that day. And so he was just saying, like, what does that say about, her going out and he was getting emotional about it too, just seeing how the girls all kind of rallied around her and the fact that she still came out and did this and stuff and that sort of thing. So he was just expressing that in terms of the appreciation for them, coming out and being a part of her intro and stuff. And so that was really cool. And Belair just does a great job as the babyface champ and so the match was good. Belair starts out aggressively, good early offense from Asuka. The women just went back and forth, and it was a story of Asuka being the submission specialist and Belair being the powerhouse, and really just Asuka kind of reversing things that Belair was doing into submission holds, and then Belair using her strength to kind of get out of them. And
it was a great way for them both to get over on that. That's so well done, where you didn't have to like have one person just making the other one look bad or whatever. Right. Like they both managed to get over in their respective areas, like you were just saying. Like they both had a specific piece of turf, and they did really well. Making those stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. And they got into a great rhythm in the match. Belair's power is just incredible. I have a note about her suplexing Asuka, and I think it was from one move into like a suplex, and she just like powered her over into it. And it was just really incredible. I have another note about great near falls with and I don't know if this makes sense, but I kind of made this note about how there felt like an organic struggle to get to those near falls. You know what I mean? Like it felt like they were really trying to pin each other. If this was a real kind of contest of them trying to pin you down, you know what I mean? Like they just had this sort of scrappiness to what they were doing that I thought was really, it just provided a nice kind of feel to the match. It just gave it a different flair and flavor. So I like that. Great struggle on the top turnbuckle, nice sequence into the armbar submission, but then just the Belair powering into the KOD was just really, really impressive. So, just a great back and forth between those two and a fantastic match.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a fun match to watch. The ending was glitchy. I was in it up until the end, but it looks like there was supposed to be a ref bump that turned into an attempted ref bump. Yeah. And then the mist went awry. Yeah. And it felt like at that point, then they were improvising a little bit to make things kind of work out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it totally doesn't detract completely from the match, but it did take, I had to dock it some points for that because it really did. It was a bit of a head scratcher of an ending. You know what I mean?
What was your rating? Oh, sorry.
My rating is 3 stars.
Really? Wow.
I was about ready to give it 3 3/4 stars because it was a I don't want to get into the path of like, oh, everything is fantastic, everything is wonderful. Like, no, it was a good match. It wasn't to me like a 4-star match. It was approaching that, but I mean, man, you got to nail the ending, and it felt like the ending. I felt like the end. Here's what I think the ending was supposed to be. I think the ending was that Asuka was supposed to get Belair with the mist, and that Belair was actually going to finish the match blind. Just with the way that's the feeling I get. I have no inside information or sources or anything.
Yeah.
That was just the way I kind of felt like it, and it would have been a much more emotional ending. Whereas the ending they had, it's fine, but it would have been fine for like a Raw match. Like, it didn't feel like it was heading. It didn't feel like it paid off the emotion of the entire match. That's why, to me, the ending seemed really glitchy, and I'm like, I kind of wanted the ending that we were supposed to get. I had to take off 3/4 of a star for that.
Oh, I stand in disagreement. I felt the match had like I said, it had kind of an organic feel at times with some of the near falls they were trying to pull off and submissions and just great power finisher at the end. And, was there a little bit of clunkiness? Sure. But I felt overall, 4 stars. I mean, my comment to you after, as we were entering into this match was, I don't know how these gals are going to stand up to that Intercontinental Championship match. Cause there was no breathing room between those two matches. There was no segment to cool the crowd a bit and then get into the Women's Championship match. They came out as the next act, and I really feel like they put on it wasn't a perfect match, but it was a great match and much better than I thought would. The crowd was locked into it in a way that I didn't think they would be, given the emotion of that Intercontinental match. So
I think it worked because Asuka in and of herself is over as hell.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And Bianca is too. So I mean, to me, it's like that's one of, like we said about. Night one, it's like, well, this is the only match that's going to be able to follow that one.
Yeah.
Aside from putting that IC belt right before the main event, I don't know what else you put in there. And this is a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was something completely different too. It was totally different.
Yeah.
That helped.
Next intermission sort of segment was with Miz and Snoop Dogg, with Shane McMahon coming out before we get to the shenanigans that took place. 81,395. They literally broke the record from the night before for a grand total of 161,892 fans attending the 2-night WrestleMania extravaganza. Very impressive. Very impressive.
Which I wonder how, I mean, they announced the first night as a sellout. Like, did they have people sitting in others' laps the next night?
Possibly.
I'm confused.
Maybe they reconfigured a few things. Who knows? But
could be.
But then
Snoop brought some folding chairs from his house. Like, hey man, I had these out in the garage. Sure, set them up.
Why not? Why not? Draw me money.
It's, you know what? Because Snoop seems to me the kind of guy who's like, man, why'd I order these 300 chairs off of Amazon? Oh, that's right. I was high as hell last night. Oh, well, put them out in the garage.
But then we get to Shane McMahon coming out for the impromptu match with The Miz, and they start to, Shane does his normal, stupid punch routine in the corner, and then throws The Miz off the ropes, tries to do a leapfrog, and when he lands, just goes down in a heap, and, he tries to get up and just collapses again, and something didn't go right, and it turns out, I think Triple H said in the press conference he had a blown quad, basically, is what happened there. So
and Triple H ought to know about that, because I'm pretty sure that happened to him too. And the fact is, like, it was Vince who tore both quads coming out to the ring one. It's like that whole family has quad issues like you only read about. It's crazy.
Absolutely. But in a impromptu and improvisational moment, Snoop Dogg decides to give The Miz a couple of socks to the jaw, and then lines him up for realizes he doesn't have any elbow pads to throw, but he takes his glasses off, throws it to the crowd, does the people's elbow in about as slow a run as one can do in the ring. But man, did he get elevation on that bow?
It would have been great if he'd done the crip walk, like, instead of the run. that would have been much better.
That is true.
But I mean, for something that apparently was come up with on the fly, I mean, hey, aces.
I gave this 1 star. It was an awful segment, but Snoop saved it, and I got to give him a star for the effort. So,
all right. Well, I've got 3 different ratings for this one. So,
okay.
when I heard the Shane McMahon, here come the money, we were at 3 stars. because
All right.
I mean,
3 stars
I gotta.
with Shane. Yep.
I mean, I'm not a fan of his dad, but you know what? Someone who has a total disregard for their own well-being and sanity, I'm a fan.
Is Aces in your book?
Yeah, and then when, of course, inevitably the inevitable McMahon weak quad takes him down. Then we plummeted to about negative 100 stars because I'm like, this is now the worst that it could possibly be. But then Snoop swooping in to save the day.
Yes,
with the people's elbow. Then
the Inglewood bow.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe we've come up with something new. So then we're back up to. I'm going to give it a solid 2.5 because the people's bow, the Englewood bow, was worth 102.5 stars.
Very nice.
So that was a journey to get there, but we got there.
Uncle Todd has a very precise system he uses in all of these ratings.
I just make crap up. It's very precise.
All right. Next match was the Hell in a Cell match between Finn Balor and Edge. This had a great build-up. I had read some rumors that Gangrel potentially was going to be there to walk the aisle with Edge, as he was kind of coming out in his Brood sort of mode there, but that was not a thing. Instead, we had the crazy disco skeleton face that he was wearing. So
yeah, it really felt like he needed to pick an intro because it was really weird going with like Brood Edge. I'm like, has he used that before? Was that like a graphic or something? Because I don't remember that.
He did use it before. I don't think they used that graphic, but last SummerSlam when he fought Seth Rollins, or maybe it was 2 SummerSlams ago, he decided to go way back to that Brood mentality,
which is cool. But the problem was it wasn't the original Brood music.
Yeah, I didn't like the music. I don't know why they didn't use the old music because that music is much cooler. But
and then he kind of completely blew the fact off that he was this brooding and this darker version of Edge by then going to his regular music and doing his regular shtick.
Yeah,
would have been better. Would have been better just to pick one of them.
Indeed.
Indeed. And then Balor's entrance, it doesn't work in the light.
No.
It doesn't. Like, you need darkness and you need that fog to like.
Hey, but he had the smoke sticks.
Oh yeah, and that was.
And then I think he reloaded at one point. I think they cut away because I noticed he handed something to someone, and then they come back and he has them again. It's like, oh yeah, they didn't time that out very well, did they?
Yeah, between that, it was just a bad Burning Man second tier act. It was just not good, and there wasn't even any good drugs involved. That's the other part. It's just like none of that was good. But anyways, what are you gonna do?
But as I commented to you, and as I put in my notes, one thing that I was thankful they finally did, and maybe this was one of the final touches that Triple H could put in there, is finally Demon Balor was completely different from Finn Balor. You know what I mean? Like, this is the one problem I always had with this demon thing he did, is he would dress up in this way. He would, impressive body paint and everything, come down to the ring, and he would wrestle exactly the same way that Finn Balor would.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you painted yourself up, but what did that really, like what is this demon thing supposed to be? This match, and I don't know if it was because of the cell or probably the cell had something to do with it, but he comes down and he's like this savage. And it was a very different feel to the Balor character than what we typically get as, Judgment Day Balor. And I really liked it. I mean, this is what I finally wanted to kind of see was, him, and really he kind of dominates most of the match. I'm like, Edge throws a lot at him and he keeps coming at him. And so I like the relentlessness that they were trying to, bring out in his character. That happened until he had a ladder thrown at his head.
Well, yeah, Edge was digging out all the greatest hits.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And that was actually one of his greatest hits because Finn he protected himself very well everywhere except for where that step was going to hit him straight in the skull, and that didn't work out so well.
And you can find it online, folks, if you want to Google it. That gash in his head was pretty nasty.
It's gnarly.
Oh my gosh.
Only thing that covered up was the face paint and then like his dark hair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Otherwise, I mean, juice would have been everywhere.
He was bleeding profusely. So apparently what they did was they applied a numbing agent to him and they stapled the scar shut at least to get the bleeding to stop for the duration of the match. And so Edge kind of vamped for a little bit. He went out to the outside of the ring, grabbed some more weapons because, hey, when you crack a guy's head open, more weapons is what you need.
Yeah, totally.
And the match continued. I do want to take a step back to the early part of the match. Really loved how Edge trapped Balor with the kendo sticks in the corner. That was
awesome.
That was such an innovative spot. And I loved how when I forget what Edge did to hit Balor, but after that, Balor's like dead. He's just like hanging there.
Yes, I think it was a drop kick.
Okay, yeah.
And then, of course, one of my favorite moments was when he went out and got the table, and you had the text of the night, sir, where you were like, "The table got a bigger pop than Rousey."
Amen.
Like, and deservedly so. The table contributed more to the show
than
Rousey did, and it should be, as it should be.
Oh my gosh.
That ought to be in Ronda's next contract negotiations. Ronda, you got out-cheered by a table.
Yeah.
A piece of furniture got a bigger pop than you.
Yep.
Let's talk about your bonus structure.
Indeed. Love the drop kick from Balor onto Edge outside of the ring where he put him through the table. That was nasty. Again, and this is what I love. Like Balor was just out of control. Like he grabbed these chairs. He was just like throwing them at Edge, and I mean, Edge was just like taking. He was just like taking them. Like
just hucking them at him, which was great. I was like, that's a new way of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, the ladder impaler DDT was sick. I had this thought. It was funny in the beginning of the match. I had this thought about, wouldn't it be cool, because Balor's character being what it was, like, wouldn't it be cool if he gets on like the top turnbuckle and then just decides to jump on the side of the cage and do something crazy off the side? And sure enough, toward the end, he does that. And they even had like a little platform.
Which took me out of it because I'm like, that's not usually there.
Yeah.
I get it, but
he goes and he does the coup de grace off the side of the cage, was just crazy, but great spear, and then Edge, he went old school, nasty concerto to take Demon Balor down and put him to sleep, and so Edge comes out on top.
Indeed.
Great
What'd you give this one, sir?
Match, though. Great Hell in a Cell match, and just a distinct one on its own. I mean, it just had a different feel to it. It didn't need, people climbing to the top of the cage and all this sort of thing. It was just a great contained match, and I think a lot of it had to do with the Balor character being very different and being this relentless presence, and Edge really. I felt like the story here was Edge really having to dig deep into the dark side to, especially at the end when he did the concerto, that was Brood Edge, I think, at that point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but what did you have for a rating, sir?
This is a tough one because Hell in a Cell generally is just tough because you're competing against history.
Mm-hmm.
And the first two Hell in a Cell matches, everybody's been trying to live up to those ever since.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of missteps. There's been more missteps than there have been, great Hell in a Cell matches, quite honestly. I mean, do we need to go back to Kennel in a Cell? And do we need to talk about, what was it? Wasn't it Randy Orton lighting the Fiend on fire or something like that?
Right.
I mean, so there's all this history. I mean, even though a lot of it's bad, the stuff that's really good is freaking iconic. And living up to that, you get to that point where it's like, like when Mick Foley talks about when he was going to wrestle Sabu, and that there was people in the bingo hall who legit thought someone was going to die in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of almost the level you're at. And I think they did a great job of, as you said, doing a different type of match. It's a contained match. No one escaped the cage. No one climbed to the top of the cage. It was all contained, and the cell did what it was supposed to do.
And it was brutal.
I gave it 3.5 stars.
Yeah.
Because I think it was what it was, and it did it very well. I didn't think it was match of the night or anything like that, but it was great. For it definitely goes in the pro column for and I probably ought to give it an extra couple marks just for the fact that we didn't have the red cell. We were back to the normal gray silver chain link cell.
Yep.
Which I think is just a much better vibe than the red cell.
I agree.
What did you have this one at, sir?
I had this at 4.5 stars. I thought this was a well done match. It was brutal. It was violent. It was gritty. Balor gets a lot of credit for bringing that out. I think him, like I said, just being this relentless presence and just constantly, coming at edge. It was just very different, and I like the feel of it. And like you said, Edge didn't really feel like Brood Edge when he kind of came to the ring, but by the end of the match, he was in a dark place, and Balor brought him there. And I think that was kind of the story being told was he had to go to those lengths to beat him, to put him down. And I thought and this was great for Balor too. I mean, you're one match away from the main event of WrestleMania. You're in this, great match with this legend, this Hall of Famer, and you put on a heck of a show with a gash in your skull. So, I mean, I don't know. Balor comes out, winner on this one too, even though he lost the match. But I gave this 4.5 because I really liked it. I thought it was really, really well done.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, we've gone through them all. We're down to the final match, and boy, you and I have some things to say about this one. For the WWE Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship, Cody Rhodes versus the Tribal Chief, or maybe after this one, the Tribal Thief, Roman Reigns.
Listen, Shmuley, don't start getting cute now. I'm not in the mood.
All right. No more hijinks from Shmuley. All right. I think both men had great intros. I thought it was a nice touch, Cody with his family and presenting the belt to the late Luke Harper's son was a great, I just thought that was a nice feel good moment sort of thing. Roman, of course, had a great intro, great big fight feel to the match as has been the case. Love in the beginning, Reigns, not kind of getting off to a great start, and Heyman advising him on the outside, yelling at him about who he is. And then shortly after chastising him, you hear from the background, "I love you, my Tribal Chief."
Yes. Well, actually,
Heyman every time.
Let's go back just for a moment.
Yes, go ahead.
Like Roman Reigns got I just had this one note down. Piano bar treatment for Roman. Possible 15-minute entrance incoming. Like, I was like, Oh God, we've got like all these grand pianos they drug out. Like, it's going to take him forever to get to the ring, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
No, I love that moment where he was like, finish him. And then there was that gap of my Tribal Chief.
Yes. Yeah.
wait, I forgot.
Like in one moment he's coaching him and he's like, remember who you are. He's coming. He's got to come to you. You don't go to, he's giving him good advice. My Tribal Chief. And then he walks away. I love you, my Tribal Chief.
Yes. Oh yeah. Heyman's just so good at that.
I love him. Oh my gosh.
I thought it was nice to note two things. That Reigns was defending the same title 3 WrestleManias in a row.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
and it just makes you realize, like, oh crap, he's had this belt a long time.
Yes, he has.
It's kind of weird that it's the fact that it's a universal title. They don't we're not talking about the WWE Championship anymore.
Yeah,
like it's just the universal title is kind of all.
I'm wondering. That's the belt he has the longest reign with. He's had the WWE Championship, I think, for a year.
Okay, that's right.
Because he essentially unified the belts, I think, last year, or brought them together last year, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah.
The other thing I thought was nice was commentators connecting Cody coming to Hollywood as a kid and the fact that he's coming back to Hollywood for this event. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. Like, as the match started out, the only way I could come up with it, like, Cody's offense feels very different than the way a lot of other workers are right now. Like, it feels very much of a throwback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's just something about just the way he works that feels like he's grabbing stuff from back in his dad's era and using it, and it does help give him this different style from other folks working right now.
Yeah.
I did find it amusing that at one point Cody was rolling back into the ring to break up the count when he'd already been out there for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could have counted to 10 literally 20 times by now. And now we're going to roll in. Okay. All righty.
Mm-hmm.
He had some great sells, though. There was one clothesline that Roman hit him with, and he did the full-on somersault.
Oh,
like, boom. Like, oh, it was,
look phenomenal. Man. Look phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, he's another one of those guys that like he can make his opponent look like $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good back and forth between them. Solo's interference, during the match, helped kind of underscore that underdog, kind of status, with Cody, and just, every time he was starting to get a leg up on Roman, he would, kind of interrupt that with, he didn't hit him with a chair, did he? I forget. He hit him with something. I forget what it was. I don't know, but there was some interference on the outside. Like Cody was trying to get in the ring, and he would run up and chop block him or something like that. But anyways,
yeah, my notes started getting very sparse in this match because I was pretty well locked in on it.
Yeah, it's same thing with me. I mean, I don't have a whole lot, in terms of the action. I mean, I just have things like there was some nice rallies by Cody on Reigns with the cutter. Good. I mean, the near falls were just incredible.
Yeah. It was weird though. At one point, Reigns was setting up the announce tables, and I was like, "Okay, I'm very confused because we have a count out happening, but is it no DQs? Because I would assume that smashing a dude through the announce table would count as a disqualification in some way, shape, or form, unless it was
allowable.
A no DQ.
It's allowable.
Yeah, I mean that is one thing that I'm like, okay, if you're gonna have some rules, you got to at least try to adhere to them a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to try and keep things straight. So, but that was, and of course they did the ejection of Solo from the ringside. And of course he comes back.
Yep.
So the whole thing was, it got messy.
Cody breaking out the figure 4 was fantastic. I thought that was great.
Yes.
Great counters by both men. Roman had a great spear and near fall. Tried to put the guillotine on him. That was great drama. He pulled out of it. Jimmy and Jay coming down, was another challenge for Cody to overcome. Owens and Zayn come down and take care of them. Continue to build that drama. Just great back and forth. They have this great back and forth when they're just staggering, they're just exhausted, just throwing punches at each other. The crowd was totally with them through it all. And then Cody bringing out the dusty jabs, I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The bionic elbow, the flip flop and fly.
Bingo.
Oh, so good.
And then we get the sequence where he gives Reigns one crossroads, rolls over, picks him up, gives him a second one, rolls over, picks him up. And then, of course, the wise man gets onto the ring. And it's like, all right, here we go. And then out of nowhere, there's Solo with the Samoan spike, and Reigns hits the spear. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a title retention, not the happy ending to the story that we were hoping for. Cody loses. I was beside myself, and you, sir. So if you're going to credit me for the, great quote of the night with the table being more over than Rousey, you also had an equally good quote when you wrote back and you're like, "Do you think they'll go with a dusty finish?"
Yeah. It seems appropriate.
That would be phenomenal if that's what they end up doing. And I was literally waiting for it. I honestly was waiting for something. I thought they would do something like that. They restart the match or whatever. And nope, nothing. That was the end. Reigns retained. Cody sitting in the ring looking despondent. And I just, my comments were, why did they throw this story away? It was a great match with an absolutely crappy ending. I was really upset, or not upset in that I was, sad. It was just I was aggravated. I was super aggravated because I thought this was a great time to bring, Cody to prominence with the belt. Just really don't understand the logic behind the decision other than, well, certain people apparently sold the company and decided to make money and take back creative control, I guess. So, But yeah, no, I thought the ending made absolutely zero sense for kind of where the story was going. I do have some thoughts, kind of post after this, but before we get there, what were your thoughts on the match, sir? What was your rating?
Okay, let's get the rating out of the way. I'm gonna basically match up with you on this. 4 3/4 stars. It was near perfect. I know that I detracted stars for other matches and the ending, especially, and then even Seth Rollins just not agreeing with the premise. In this one, I can't take away what was a hell of a match and what was an emotional match and what told a story all the way through.
Yeah.
So 4 3/4 stars. Sunday night, I was like, okay, well, I was surprisingly zen compared to the person who was talking earlier in this show about the whole thing, because I was like, okay, well, obviously there's got to be something going to happen with this down the road. I don't know what it is, but of course that's how it works. Like, I think I even said to you at some point, like, if this story is going to continue and you don't know where it's going, isn't that kind of where you want to be in progress in this story?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where you want to be. You don't want people to understand where it's going to go next.
Yeah.
That gives you the twists and turns of the story. So I was kind of optimistic at that point. Knowing what I know now, it's just gone. And it is a wasted opportunity. You wasted all that time that was invested in this. You took a great story that you could have paid off, and you tossed it in the trash.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It's a shame because this had legs. This should have, if it weren't going to end here, it should have ended there in terms of like in terms of Cody getting the belts and then Roman chasing.
Yeah.
And then watching the further and hey, maybe it only ends up being like a month and then Roman gets the belt back.
Yeah.
But now things are different, and however that works, like there was legs to this thing depending on which way you wanted to go with it. But now, knowing what we know of WWE creative, it's just dead now. So that's disappointing.
So
I'm just glad that we at least got a really good match out of it, I guess.
Yeah. And that's what I was disappointed with as well, because I go back to when I watched WrestleMania as a kid, and WrestleMania is kind of the bookend of if wrestling had a season, it's from one WrestleMania to another, and so it's a way to close a chapter, and that's how Triple H kind of described it in the press conference. But his point was, but the story isn't over, and
which is nice to say, but that's what he was told to say.
Probably.
That's my thought process.
But I do understand it because. And this is one of the things I want to kind of, comment on is I did read, from some folks who were commenting on these columns that I read and, kind of the build up to WrestleMania is, and even after this match, like, maybe they did this because there was a sense that maybe Cody hadn't faced enough adversity, and so maybe they're delaying it maybe for another year or until SummerSlam. To have him, fight through some challenges to, because we did say when we saw Royal Rumble, it was a little surprising. He came back from injury, as number 30, not number 1, but number 30. And, yes, he had that great exchange with Gunther, but, will he have gone through enough to have earned the moment? I kind of feel like he did. I mean, the guy wrestled a Hell in a Cell match with a completely torn pec and performed admirably and really above expectations with Seth Rollins before he had to walk away for a period of time to heal up. He came back. He's been having solid matches with everyone that he's been with. I don't know that was really a reason. And as we've been talking about, there really is no reason, because the man who brings a lack of reason to creative is back in charge. So I don't really buy that argument, and I think I think there was enough challenge that he overcame that I think it would have worked. The thing I'm starting, now I've had a few days to process it, and I see what they're doing with Brock Lesnar, and I know Vince is in charge, but and as you said, sir, I'm probably being a optimist of optimists. But if they're doing a story where he's going to have to overcome some challenges either over the course of this year or at least up until SummerSlam, will that make for a greater emotional moment? Will that build the aura of him more? It all depends on how it's executed. And to your point, you have a very pessimistic view of it, understandably. I understand that, and I do share that pessimism as well. But I do think it would be kind of an interesting story if they take him going to war with Brock Lesnar and Cody is able to put Lesnar down quickly, not quickly in terms of like 5-minute matches, but he has one match and he beats him. And he comes back to Roman and Heyman and he says, "You couldn't do this. It took you 3 years to do what I just did in one match." And starting to poke holes in the legacy of the tribal chief a little bit. Have him still, beg off. Then you get to Money in the Bank. Cody wins the Money in the Bank. Now Cody can cash in whenever he wants. That's kind of an interesting angle. So I am kind of wondering if there is a method to the madness to some degree, that there might be more compelling stories to be told with him chasing a little bit longer, where maybe you take it to the next WrestleMania and that's when he finally gets crowned, or you do it at SummerSlam. To your point, though, and I know what you're going to say, because of who's in charge, though, there is a complete lack of trust and faith. And so I get it. Probably isn't going to happen. But that's my thinking. I started late Sunday night, being like really irritated by the whole thing. And then after, listening to the press conference and kind of seeing what they did on Raw, as bad as Raw was, it is kind of an interesting thing. I mean, kind of to joke about this a little bit, having him face Lesnar is kind of Cody's version of Hard Times, if you will. So
True.
But that's just my thinking, is that all things being equal, if we take Vince out of the equation for a moment, I think I get a little bit of the rationale behind maybe extending it a bit further. You let Roman build his mystique with this unprecedented reign he's been on. And you also get your top babyface to build his aura up even more, so that when he does win, it feels even more earned than maybe before. But we have to bring reality back in, and Vince is in charge. So that's going to be what it's going to be. What say you, sir?
All right, let's go at this one at a time. The excuse I heard was, it was always going to be Roman Reigns versus Rock and or Cody.
Mm-hmm.
And in those scenarios, it was always Roman retaining the title, which I'm like, okay, I mean, sure, fine, whatever. I mean, you can say that, but I mean, you knew a while ago that Rock wasn't an option. And so then you say, okay, well, Cody's the option. So you're telling me in the past couple months, when you knew Rock was out of this and Cody is the way you're going, you didn't, like, there's no second thought about maybe this is the time to shift the championship.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that, like, it was just, well, nope, that's what we decided to do back in December, so that's what we're going to do. Like, okay, that sounds very unreasonable and rigid, especially in a business where you kind of have to improvise from time to time. But okay, sure. The idea, like, to me is, even if this is going forward, you still could have taken the belt off Roman, because the fact is Roman is a part-time player.
Yeah.
So, and the tough thing about having someone chase the part-time player is you're going with the intermediaries. So there was a couple times that, you had to have the Paul Heyman Cody Rhodes show, which was fan-frickin-tastic, but you can't keep that going forever. Eventually you have to cut through all that. And so how are you going to continue this with a guy who is part-time at best at this point? It sounds, actually, from the rumors that I heard, is Roman's taken like a substantial amount of time off.
Yeah.
Like, he's taken a chunk of time off.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? Like, this would have actually been an interesting, and to go to your point, like, he hasn't faced enough adversity. Okay. I can see that point. Like, It does make sense. A way to do that would have been if he had the belt, held it, and then maybe he loses the belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he has to chase, and then it comes into, you know what? I didn't deserve this.
Yeah.
But I will when I get it back, because now I know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an angle. What I'm trying to say is there are options here.
Yeah.
And just by saying, well, oh no, it's this, and oh no, it's that. Well, okay, so no one brought this up.
Yeah.
No, it basically, to me, it just comes down, and the fact is, I can't take Vince out of the scenario, because that is the dude who is running everything, and he's shown that he's such a micromanager that you can't take him out of the equation.
Yeah.
He holds all the cards. It's his thing. He is going to do what he wants to do.
Right.
And I would love to follow your scenario, but the fact is, ain't no way in hell Brock Lesnar is going to allow Cody Rhodes to come out and beat him in a match. Like, not just like first shot out. I don't think Brock is going to let Cody beat him at all. No way, no how.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's going to happen.
They paid him
because
enough money.
I don't think it comes into money. Brock does. I don't think Brock needs money at this point. I think Brock seems like he's a pretty simple cat who he's got his farm and he's got his stuff, and if he decided to walk tomorrow, I think he's going to be all right, because he's had sponsorships, he's done his UFC thing. I think he's been compensated well enough that he doesn't have to do this for the money. I think he does it now because I think he's at a point in his life where I think there was actually a bit that I read about him or something where he's just like, he quit before because of the travel, but now because he's I don't think he does house shows.
No, he doesn't.
I think now it's like he shows up to TV, and it's like now he can just be backstage with the guys, and he can go out in the ring and do his thing, and that's fun. I think he's literally at a point where it's like, if it's not fun anymore, all right, hey howdy, I'll see you. I'll just come pick up my ring when you guys put me in the hall at some point. Maybe.
Oh, he is, but he is wise to the business, and if there is some money to be made, and if there's some, something interesting they can do, he's lost before, so he's not above losing. So
if there's money to be made, but he turned down the whole Bray Wyatt thing in a quick heartbeat, and I'm sure there's been other things that he's turned down, and
that's understandable.
Again, rightfully so.
That's understandable though, because Bray's character is so weird and so different that it was having a negative effect on, really Seth Rollins was completely derailed in terms of his run when he went and faced, the Fiend. Now, that was because of the foolish booking of who was in charge at the time. And so, again, to your point, Vince is back. Vince seems to be in charge. So it's just not going to go in a very creative and compelling direction, because he just doesn't know how to tell very good stories anymore. So,
which actually dovetails nicely, because then of course the next night on Raw, we have Seth freaking Rollins coming out for one of the most dumbass segments ever, where he walks out so that people can literally sing along to his theme music and leaves.
Yeah.
Doesn't say a word.
Yep.
Nothing happens. There's no encounters. It's sing along with Seth and peace out.
Yep.
That was a segment on the Raw after WrestleMania. So, yeah, to say creatives in safe hands is a stretch and a half.
Yes. But overall...
So where are we heading from here?
But overall, I would say this was probably one of the best events, best WrestleManias that I've watched in a very long time. Just the matches, the match quality was off the charts, and outside of 2 or maybe 3 matches that were clunky, the card was solid from top to bottom. It was really, really a great event. So
yeah,
as much as we're a little downtrodden and disappointed that, the roided up Walt Disney is back to run his own circus. We are, we are appreciating and enjoying, what was WrestleMania 39, even though the main event of night 2 did not go exactly the way that we wanted. So,
nope. Deep cleansing breath.
Absolutely.
Well, this is now normally the part of the show where we do and another thing, and we talk about things that we like. But we both hate everything. So
we're just going to call it a night.
We're not doing that. We're just going to try and, go hug our families, think cheerful thoughts, and try and forget that, mustache that looks like someone dragged a cat turd across Vince McMahon's upper lip. And as I texted the man they call Tim, it's too bad that somebody didn't.
Oh, yes.
I'd pay good money for that. Jim Cornette had a comment about the fact that his hair has dyed so black that lightning bugs are going to follow him around in the dark. I'm like, I don't even understand what that means. Like, I don't.
There's some Grecian
and then a couple
formula
of
going on there.
And then I mean, as like Jerry Lewis telethon, dye level going on.
Oh boy.
Like just Krylon spray on hair at this point, I think.
Yep.
And then a couple of woolly caterpillars for like eyebrows that are also dyed. Oh, it's wretched, and he's a wretched. Which actually, you know what? He's a wretched human being, so it fits.
It does fit.
Fits.
It does fit.
But anyways, that is WrestleMania 39, the last glimmering hope of the Triple H creative era. And now, you know what? In the name and the spirit of reconciliation, I am actually going to take a step forward. I want to thank Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I want to thank him because this piece of crap is going to save me $4.99 every month going forward because I don't have to have Peacock now.
Wait, you don't want to watch Night Court?
I kind of do, actually.
It's actually been pretty good.
But you know what? It's the principle of the thing. And yes, $4.99 because I'm the cheap ass who has the one that still has commercials. I'm trying to save that $4. I don't want to go up to the $9.99, the $5. I don't want to go up to that $10 one. No.
Boy.
Let me be cut right about this. I still watch like the 8 commercials before you start a movie. But yeah, you're going to save me some money. So thank you, Vince. And in the spirit of Uncle Corny, thank you. Fuck you. Bye.
Oh, good Lord. Is that how we're ending the show?
Nope. That's now I would like to. I need a pause there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to all the members of the Free Range Idiocy congregation who have stuck through yet another 7-hour show. We do certainly appreciate your patience, your fortitude, basic levels of insanity for listening to this entire show. Thank you so much. If you have not yet subscribed, you can go to freerangeidiocy.com. That has all of our episodes there. You can find them, download them individually or en masse if you would. You can also subscribe to the Podbean app. If you have enough apps in your life and you just want to get it through some other place, we are also on Podbean. We're on Google Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We're on Pandora. We're on Apple Podcasts. A whole bunch of other podcast purveyors that you can find us on. Just search for Free Range Idiocy and you'll surely find us. We are on the Facebook. We are on the YouTubes. You can also get full episodes on YouTube as well. The YouTubes is a great place. And we're also on Instagram. You know what? I'm not going to mention Twitter because now Vincent McMahon has taken over my hatred for mollusk. So, just never mind. If you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, ideas for shows, you can send those to tim@freerangeidiocy.com and he'll be back to you ASAP, PDQ, if not sooner. And now, ladies and gentlemen, because quite honestly, I'm probably going to have a stroke if I keep talking. I'm going to pass this off to the less idiotic of the two idiots who run this show. That would be the man they call Tim. But not before I ask the second most important question in all of human history. The first, of course, being what is hip? The second being, the hell did we learn this show besides the fact that Vince McMahon is a dumpster fire of fiery dumpster garbage dumpster stuff?
We have learned the following, my friend.
Good.
We have learned Uncle Todd utilizes this podcast as a means of anger management. where he is able to verbally get out.
Managing too much very well right now.
He's able to verbally get out the frustrations, especially those brought about by one Vincent Kennedy McMahon, in a constructive and slightly unfiltered way. The man they call Tim, we've also learned is ever the optimist, even though he kind of knows deep down that the pessimistic view is probably what's going to happen. But always holding out hope. We'll continue to look at wrestling from the periphery, and if something looks interesting, get Uncle Todd hooked back in at that $4.99 to the Peacock.
Oh, no, you won't. No, you won't.
We have also learned that the McMahons, not the strongest squads in the world, and Shane proved that once again with that leapfrog. That was painful to watch, and probably even more painful for him. So
now I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to Google. Has Steph had any like quad issues too? Like
I don't think so.
It seems like it runs in the family.
I don't think so.
It's a very bizarre thing.
I think it's just on the men. Triple H, Shane, Vince.
Whatever.
We have also learned that Snoop Dogg is capable of dropping an impressive bow, ladies and gentlemen, with that people's elbow. His rope technique, not so much.
No, he's got to work on that a little bit.
But once again, to reiterate the words of Uncle Todd, we do thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience at this near 2 hour and some odd minute odyssey that we've been on of venting, of spewing venom, of talking about fine wrestling, of chest slaps, of Gunther and his entrance, of all of it. We thank you, and we appreciate it. And as we like to close down things here on the range, be safe, be healthy, be kind, be good to one another, and turn out the lights, because let's face it, you don't want to look at Vince McMahon right now. It's just creepy.
It's like someone took a marionette and they dipped it in crap. So that explains the mustache, and then they just set it out like one of those creepy dolls that people have in their house, and you walk in their house, you're like, hey, so jeez. And then you're sitting there and you're trying to have a conversation, and you look over and the thing's eyes are following you around the room. That's Vince McMahon right now.
And so with all that being said, please hit the lights on the way out.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
You're really pretty.
Oh, stop.
No, I'm serious. You could be in magazines. You could. And not just like Jugs or Creamsicle.
Get out and don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
If you're Triple H, like seriously, why would you continue to work there? That's my big question.
I don't know.
At what point does he just go, I got my money, I've got my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
I don't need this.
Yeah.
Or is he just that invested? I don't.
It's a good question.
Patrick, get Triple H on the phone for me.
Oh, good God. Are you going to have him spell again?
I know it's late. How many H's?
That's a good one.
Okay, I said triple.
Oh, my gosh.
How many is triple? Shouldn't be taking this long, Patrick. It's a pretty simple question. Okay, why don't you go lie down, because you're starting to sweat. Just go lay down. Don't hurt yourself. Go.
Did he eat that fish-smelling beef or something? Is that what happened?
I don't know. It still stinks in here, though. I had my door closed, but it's
like
back.
The meat sweats or the fish sweats?
I don't know. I think he has a bucket hidden in there, and I don't think he empties it every day.
Yeah. Well, that's your burden to bear, not mine.
Thanks, pal.
Enjoy.
Now get the hell out of here!